Welcome, everyone, to episode 138 of Rangers Ed, presented by Lucarelli Law. If you're in Florida and need a lawyer, call Lucarelli Law and tell them the boys at Rangers Ed sent you. This is your host, Cousin Ed. I'm here with Little Ed and Coach Ed. Big week, big episode, lot going on. First, Little Ed, how was the environment yesterday? Rangers, Islanders, MSG. What was that like?
You read my mind, because that's what I wanted to bring up. I mean, my dad and I, or coach and I, talked about it a little bit last night. But like the atmosphere just isn't the same as it was last season. I know last season was a very special season. This season's been a very weird season, but I feel like the Garden just isn't really as electric as it usually is. I mean, I know like the cliche is like it's all suits and stuff, but I mean, even last year going to the games, it was just like a ton more fun. I feel like I was constantly posting videos of like just like there weren't any Igor chants, right, Coach? Not much at all. Like even the pod van sucks, like Rangers Islanders. Like I know it's dying down a little bit, but you still get some good ones here and there.
I don't know,
Coach?
Yeah, I
Coach.
mean they did Igor's better at the end.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Whatever
But
they were
not even, not
chanting.
even. It wasn't like the whole place. Like I wonder, like Henrik,
It's
like the
it's
whole
all,
place is saying Henrik. It's like
it's also like unnecessary.
I gotta
Look,
say,
whatever.
Sunday
There's-
the
yeah, it
Predators
was,
game Sunday, the crowd was a lot more alive because Quick stood on his head, made some great saves, got a little crazy, but I
yeah.
thought the atmosphere was pretty good. But
And I feel like last year it was just like I said, it was a special season, so everyone was just going to the Garden excited already. Like this year, everyone's just going on, like kind of just sitting at the edge of their seats. Like, are they going to come to play, or are they going to come to, like not whatever, not to play, like come flat? And luckily they came to play last night. Like, don't get me wrong, going to the Garden, I sound spoiled. Going to the Garden's a treat. It's a lot of fun. It's always fun. The goal song is great. The national anthem was good last night. They had another opera singer. It wasn't Brancy, but they had another opera singer. So yeah, I mean the food is always good. Coach Ed and I always deliver on getting something good to eat. So you can't complain. But I hope the fans can bring it, especially if they make it into the playoffs.
I don't know. I haven't been to the Garden much this year. Obviously, I went to opening night. It was pretty exciting. So I think that's it. That's all I've been this year. I went to the game here against the Panthers, but I feel like there's a lot of. I'm trying to do this without insulting any of our listeners. I don't think this includes any of our listeners. But I think there's just a lot of like bad Ranger fans, to be honest with you. I mean, if the internet is any indication of what the fan base is like generally, it's really not a good fan base. I mean, it's as much as the team frustrates me and I may get mad in the moment, I think that's normal. I don't root for the team to lose or root for not root hard. I still get pumped when they score. Even when the team is out of the playoffs, you get excited. You will still watch the games. I don't know. I mean, look, everyone's a different kind of fan, but I do think there's just a lot of bad fans, man. I think that people are angry with the team,
speaking of that, where were you last night?
I was watching the game, Coach. What
Really?
was I doing?
Wow, so you were just shutting us down on purpose then, because I said he's either not watching the game or he's doing this on purpose and just ignoring us.
PJ and Ed probably had a side convo going.
Yeah, they had a little side conversation they were going.
I didn't want to blow up your phone while you're at the Garden. I wanted to let you enjoy it and not bother you with every little thing.
Well, Coach Ed was busy. I don't know what would you call it, mustering up his own trades to lead into the trade deadline. So,
Coach says in the chat, which I ignored, he goes, "Where's Cousin Ed at a flavored seltzer tasting or something?" I don't know where you came up with that, but
last time it was a wine and pasta or something for the USA game or something.
I don't know. I mean, look, to be fair, I text a lot in that chat, and you guys barely respond. I disappear for a few hours, and you're wondering where I am.
I'm fine with it. I just thought maybe something happened. That's all.
In fact, most of the responses I get are pretty terse. I got to say they're pretty short and like, what are you texting for? Like that kind of a thing. Like, so, Coach, I wanted to just let you enjoy the game, man.
Okay, that's fine. I was just a little concerned.
I love the video little Ed sends of Igor getting the first star. And at the end of the video, you can hear Coach Ed say, "That was a big win." Yeah, that's your analysis.
No, because I think I was saying, no, what did I say? Like Igor gets the first star, but like, I mean, yes, it was a great shutout, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's like Panarin getting the first star with 3 secondary assists. Like,
yeah, it wasn't really tested. Still got to make the saves, but
he was tested a little bit. But yeah, it wasn't like quick shutout. Quick shutout, he stood on his head. Big difference.
Yeah.
But what was when they scored? Were people at least like loud? I mean, what was it like?
Yeah, of course. The goal song is always electric. I'm talking about like the in between. Like,
how many Islander fans are there?
Not a lot at all. Not a lot at all. I mean, we saw a few up on the bridge, but not like rowdy. No one talking. No chirping. Nothing. Like obviously the Islanders didn't play well. It could have been a little different, but. Like there was no Igor chant really at all. Like I said, the no pot fan sucks chant. It was just very low energy for a Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, both these teams they're bitter rivals, and both battling to get into a playoff spot. It's a huge game. I know it's a Monday, but
I mean, let's talk about some of these. Let's talk about these. The way some of these players are coming around. I mean, you want to talk about internet. I hope there's some positive stuff on the internet because I watched 2 games in a row live. I watched Friday night. I missed the last 6 minutes falling asleep, but I just think these guys. You want to talk about Keandre being back? He's where I think we were hoping he would go. And I'm just watching these guys live, and I'm thinking they're doing real well. Meek is in another zone right now, actually throwing the body around, forechecking in the neutral zone. I mean, watching him live, he's definitely more engaged in the game than he was in the beginning of the season, for whatever reason it is. I mean, I think a lot of it.
Coach wants to dive right in. He's like, I'm going right into the episode, skipping all the segments.
I was excited after Sunday's game. I'm watching these guys. I'm like, wow. And we talked about line changes, the stupid stuff with line changes. I'm watching Othman change in the Predators game. He's like sprinting to the bench. Rempe sprinting to the bench. It's like these guys want it. Marad last night sprinting to the bench, throwing their bodies into plays. I mean,
yeah. Let's
whatever the case is, whether it coincides with JT Miller coming, I have to say it has to have something to do with it.
He's on a roll. I want to put a pin in this, and let's go into Jersey Profiles. Sponsored by Blue Line Blue Shirts. Make sure you check them out. I think it's not on there, but I think it's at Blue Line Blue Shirts on Instagram. Michael Sauer, number 38. Sad story, Michael Sauer. But I remember when they called up Ryan McDonough and they paired him with Michael Sauer on that second pair. Stahl was with Girardi on the first pair. And we thought we had a top 4 here to watch for a decade. He was part of the Brian Leetch trade tree. Fun fact. He was a round 2 pick of the Rangers they acquired in the Leetch trade. So that's interesting. But yeah, he got hit by Dion Phaneuf in 2011. Diagnosed with a concussion and just never played again. And it's what's interesting and something that, might have been appropriate to bring EA the PA on for, but we just have such a packed episode with EJ Hradek joining us shortly. I didn't want to slam too much in here. But his brother, Kurt, was also, concussion prone, and his career was shortened by concussion. So I'm just curious if that's like a hereditary thing or if that's just coincidence, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll bring you the PA on and talk about that at some point.
Well, it's got to be somewhat hereditary because it happened with the Lindros brothers too. Brett's career got cut short, so it has to have something to do with the DNA or whatever the the right medical term is.
Well, yeah. And my fun fact was that his brother actually played in the NFL for the Falcons, I believe. I saw maybe the Titans as well. So
Wow.
I didn't really read into his career, but I wonder if he had similar issues. But I know the concussion has to
Wait, so
do with
he had a brother in the NHL and another brother in the NFL? Three
yeah,
professional athletes in that family?
that's
Wow.
what it said on the Wikipedia page. Yeah, so
That's incredible.
yeah, I know like concussions have to do with like the space between the brain and the skull. So maybe they just had like more room for the brain to move around. You know, it could be hereditary, the size of their brain or the fluid or something. So yeah, I'm sure EA the PA can share her knowledge on that.
Yeah, Chris says that Sour's sister is a concussion doctor, so maybe we
Look at that.
reach out. Maybe we should reach out to her and see if she'll come on too with the
That'd be
APA.
great.
That'd be a great episode. Try and figure that out. But yeah, it looked like a great pair with Ryan McDonough and then Stoll and Girardi. And then after Sauer went down, I believe shortly after that, McDonough moved up with Girardi and he ended up paired with Girardi. So initially that wasn't the plan. And I think Stoll had the issues too, the injuries. So a promising blue line at the time, cut short due to injuries. And, this I think is something that, fans who are old enough to remember this, is not that long ago, but, some people are young. We're worried us about Philip Hedl, right? I mean, as much as we love Philip Hedl, that was one hit Michael Sauer took that he couldn't come back from due to symptoms. Hedl took a few, and
well, we don't know what happened in his career leading up to that moment. He could have gotten in the minor leagues. It wasn't as advertised back then with internet and whatnot.
Yeah, no, for sure, that's true. But all right, well, we had a big trade go down. But before we talk about that, prior to the last episode, the Rangers were 29, 25, and 4. They went 2-1 and 0 in these games, 31, 26 and 4, 66 points, fifth in the Metro, moved up now to 16th in the NHL. So they keep doing this 2-1 stretch. I feel like this is a repeat every single episode, 2-1 and 0, 2-1 and 0, 2-1 and 0. Maybe that's good enough. Maybe it's not, but we need to get a couple of these 3-0 and 0s or something at some point, probably, to make it. They started off all three home games. Toronto, a 3-2 loss. Rangers played well in that game. They outshot Toronto 35-16. Outchanced them as well. And, the difference was Stolarz outplayed Shesterkin in that one. And Toronto won the game. They capitalized on their chances. Then they bounced back with 2-4-0 shutouts against Nashville. Jonathan Quick in his 800th game. And then Igor Shesterkin against the Islanders. Coach, before we bring EJ on, let's talk a little bit about what you were saying. I think it's an interesting point. Some of the way these guys have turned their seasons around. You asked me, what does the internet say about it? Well, the Rangers Twitter, for those of you who are on Twitter, is really a difficult space to exist in. It's really hard because what you have is a lot of know-it-all people who have like a platform. They give random people who have they're not journalists, they're not hockey reporters, they're not podcasts. They're just like people who tweet about the Rangers and they have like 5,000 followers somehow. I have no idea. And they have really bad takes, like terrible takes. And then every once in a while, one of their takes is true. It comes out to be like, oh, look, like I'm proven right. And they just are no holds barred. Like, I should be the coach. Like I said this in 2022 and now it's true. And it's like, it's like, I'm trying to like tweet and interact with people, but I don't want to interact with any of those fans. They've been bashing the team all year, bashing Mika. People were tweeting that Mika should be deported to Sweden. Look, we bashed Mika on this podcast about do they need to trade Mika? Maybe they need to change the core. Mika needs to, he's too soft. Like, these are all fair criticisms, but like the level that they take it to is crazy. And now that he's playing well, they're like, oh, see, like I said here, he just needed, it's just like whatever it is. It's not positive, Coach. It's like a I was right type of space now. Now that these guys have turned it around, some people are pointing to like one thing they said and claiming they were right, and I'm just avoiding all of that space. Honestly, I don't know. It's terrible.
Well, I would never be able to do it. So
You can't.
kudos to you.
No, you can't do it. You can't do it. But we had the Rangers made a big trade with Colorado. Let's just bring our guest on and talk trade deadline. Let's get him in. I'm sure this is all the fans want to talk about with the trade deadline coming on Friday. We got EJ.
Yes.
EJ, what's up?
We made it happen. It's busy. How you guys doing? Congratulations on the club hockey. Was it Stony Brook?
Yes, sir.
There you go. Good to win the title. Now do you get to you continue playing? What's going on?
Okay, Coach.
Well, we already had the order. We didn't have an automatic bid, but we finished in the top 12 in the nation.
Okay.
So we got the national bid about a week prior to that tournament.
Okay.
So I don't want to say it was meaningless, but it was nice to win it and have that.
It's always nice to win.
It doesn't appear meaningless from the Instagram where Coach Ed is carrying around.
Yeah,
he's carrying it around like it's a Stanley Cup. You see that? I mean,
yeah. Where is it, Coach? You don't have it on for the
I'll
episode?
go up and get it in a minute. Yeah. Sorry,
I mean, there was music, there was all kinds of things. It was like an ESPN production you had behind that. You had to care a little bit.
EJ, I'm flattered and honored that you even watched those videos. It's pretty cool. I'm like, I don't know if I'm a little older than you, but to me, all this is mind-boggling. The way all that happens, it's great stuff.
Hey, listen, it's fun to be part of competition. And it's the reason we become fans and get into things is because we probably love to play as youngsters and, and then you stay in it in different ways. I mean, I was involved with youth hockey coaching my son's teams, and now he plays college club hockey down here in so I can't remember the name of the school right now. The Ospreys. Yeah. Anyway, forget. Doesn't matter.
Stockton,
Stockton University. You'd think I remember my own son's college, but yeah. So
what's going on?
So you watch, and like the kids are playing hard, and the level of competition is pretty good for what it is. And I always say it's like college hockey in the United States, right? There's about 60 or so Division I programs, and you think about like basketball, there's over 300, and football, there's a lot. I mean, all these different sports. In college hockey, there's only 60, and they're drawing kids from Canada, from the United States, from all over the world. So, I guess my point is that when you get to Division III hockey and then even to club hockey, there's still some really good hockey to be played there because there's just no avenues. There's not, 212 Division I programs for college hockey in the United States. So the trickle down is pretty dramatic, and there's still a lot of good players. And obviously, you guys want to be involved and get involved in coaching. It's a lot of fun. So congratulations. Better to win than to lose.
Well, yeah. It is fun, but it's also not too good on the cardio.
Hey, you got to.
We had a couple of hard moments.
Keeps you young.
You got to send EJ the video of Coach being interviewed and the walk away. You got to send that to him just so he can see that clip.
Please do.
A week prior to the tournament, EJ.
Nice.
So we want to talk some trade deadline with you.
Okay.
If we could talk a little international stuff first. We just said the 4 nations, and I believe you were announcing at the World Juniors, right?
I did the World Juniors in Team USA games. Got to call the gold medal game, the overtime game winner. So that was really one of the exciting. That's probably up there during play-by-play, which I've done the last several years. That's probably the biggest moment I've had. I mean, I've called Stanley Cup final games, so that's big in a way. That's for international. But for an audience here in the United States to call Team USA winning a second back-to-back gold medal at the World Juniors. And, my history with the tournament is such. When I was scouting for Dallas in the late 90s, I learned about the value of that tournament, and it really wasn't a big deal in the States. I went to the tournament in Winnipeg, ESPN. I was working for ESPN Magazine at the time. they sent me to Winnipeg for the entire 2-week tournament in 98, 99. And like the players at that time were Luongo, the Sedins, Gomez, Gianta.
Wow.
There's a bunch of them, right? Their careers have all come and gone, right? But I did that, and like Team USA was not, they were getting better, but like they weren't a force. And then 2004, I was in Helsinki when they won their first gold medal. And then to be part of the broadcast for, the last couple of years, winning back-to-back gold medals is really something special. So I've been really fortunate. And it was a lot of fun to call those. And, those guys go on, as we've seen, they go on to be the players that are going to play in the Olympics down the road.
I never really paid that close attention, but this year I watched every USA game. You did a great job, by the way.
Oh,
maybe
thank
you
you.
Could apply. Yeah, maybe you could apply for the Rangers job with Sam retiring.
No, I don't see that happening. It would be amazing. Like that would be an unbelievable job for me to get as someone that grew up in the New York area to be the play-by-play voice of the New York Rangers. I mean, that would be.
Well, hold on.
Yeah,
you flopped over to the Islanders because we didn't, and then we sent you.
Well, now I got the book.
Right.
Now I got the book. Hey, listen, that's and listen, thank you. You guys, for those who don't know the story, I joke about all the time. When I was a little boy, I was 8 years old. I put $5 in the mail, sent it to the Rangers for the Blue Book, which is like the media guide of its time, a little small book. $5 in the mail. They never sent me anything in return. So I always joke. I held a grudge. And a couple of years later, I became an Islander fan. But you guys took it to another level. You found that book somehow, and you sent it to me. And I have it right in my office. It's a prized possession. So thank you. It was very kind of you. But to separating your fandom as a younger person to I've been in this business a long time now, right? Like to be the play-by-play voice of the New York Rangers would be an unbelievable opportunity. I don't see that happening. I think there's a guy that you've listened to before that'll probably be the next play-by-play voice. But I'll say this:
Kenny
Albert. What a run! I think that was the right name. I think what a run for Sam Rosen. I mean, 40 years as people were like teenagers, and now they're in their 50s.
Yeah,
and Sam Rosen is the voice of the soundtrack of their hockey fandom. I mean, unbelievable. One of the great guys you'll ever come across. Truly a nice man, and known him for a long time now. Does a great job. And listen, everybody wants these things to go on forever. We'd like to live forever. We'd like to always be doing the things forever as we can, right? Sam, I can just tell you, in this business, normally it's over. That's it. One day it's over. That's just kind of the way it is for most people. For Sam to have this year, to really feel the love of the fans, not only here in New York, but around the league, I think is truly special for him, and couldn't happen to a better person. So I'm really happy for Sam, and I'll certainly listen to him do the games. But I mean, 40 years is just an incredible run for anybody in any line of work, and just terrific. So I don't know how it's going to play out, but I do certainly respect. Like if they ever came to me, I would be there for them, because that would be unbelievable. I always joke I've done just about everything there is to do in my life in this career in hockey. Olympics, World Cups, Stanley Cups, World Juniors, whether it be play-by-play. I've done the analyst work. I've done studio shows. I've been a writer. I've been all kinds of things. But boy, that would be beyond my wildest dreams to be in that kind of role.
Well, EJ, you could definitely compete with some. I don't know if you can compete with Sam Rosen, but you can compete with some of the other broadcasters in the tri-state area. I won't name any names, but
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And listen, all the guys. I'll say this: all the guys that do this, they work really hard at it, and they do their best. And when we get into what we'll get into, like what I do for a living, and what or like they had the Oscars the other night, right? You have there's books, there's music, there's all these things. There's no really wrong answers. I mean, people just have different opinions about who they like and who they don't like for whatever reason. And, the guys, are doing the best they can. So I like to think I do a pretty good job. I have fun. I stick to my strengths, which is focus on the game that's in front of me, and bring that kind of energy level that a fan at home would want and would have as well.
Well, two things. PJ, you got to clip that for EJ so we could send it to MSG for him so he can apply for the setup. And number two,
like I said, I think they're in good shape, but thank you.
You might get a
and
guest
number two,
appearance.
Coach Ed actually got his debut color commentating for one of our partners, Long Island Sports Network. So,
all right,
he did a high school game two high school games a couple weeks ago.
It's fun, right? You guys probably had a blast.
Yeah,
I didn't
a couple
get to
of
do it, but Coach did. Yes.
Yeah.
Two of my players go. I go, what'd you guys think? They're like, well, all you did was say the same things that you tell us. I said, well, that's what it is. That's what it is.
That's what it is. You're right. That is what it is.
Stick to his strengths, right, EJ? Just stick to what he knows.
It's funny. I was talking to an assistant coach that I will not name who it is because it wouldn't be fair, but we were talking about the team that he's involved with. And, I get going when I talk to I love talking to the coaches. And really, at any level, I love talking to the coaches. And it's we got going on things, and I get going on things. And he just stopped and he goes, "Listen," he goes, "if I decide to leave here, I'll put in your resume because you're saying the same things that we say every day." So I mean, sometimes it is, it's not. Sometimes it's obvious, but the game is the rink is the rink. The nets have been in the same place since they started playing, and you got to get to the net. I don't care if the rink is international or NHL sheet. You still got to get to the middle. You still got to get to the net. And there's things that are intrinsic with hockey that you still have to do to be successful. So it's not brain surgery, thankfully, because I don't know if I could obviously not do that.
We just worry with Coach Ed doing analyst work with a hot mic. That's really the only.
Wow, that can be a challenge. That can be a challenge. Yeah, you might want to be careful with that.
So speaking of you did the World Juniors, you learned the importance of that as a scout. You said that's really interesting. I wish we had that, but I want to talk about Four Nations too.
Okay.
So what was your impression of Four Nations? Generally, a lot of people loved how the players, took it upon themselves to compete at a high level. But in particular, the four Rangers of Team USA, particularly Adam Fox. I feel like he got highly criticized in that tournament, comes out of it, and now he's injured. But just what did you think of Adam Fox in that tournament? Do you think that's something that Rangers fans should take from a quote unquote scouting perspective as an issue? Mainly, is he a 1D, a first pairing guy who can win a Stanley Cup, right? That's the concern, I think.
Well, I mean, a couple of things quick about the tournament. I'm really happy that they held it in February. I've been a big proponent of that for many, many years. If you're going to shut down the league to play the Olympics in February, where you don't get a really financial gain from it, you have no control over it. You don't have control over the highlights. You don't have control over the arenas and a lot of things, right? If you're going to shut it down for the Olympics, I like what the plan is now. Every 2 years, World Cup of Hockey in February, Super Bowl ends. Sports fans in the United States, it's going to. The Super Bowl ends, everybody's looking for something to watch. It's cold out, hockey season, perfect time for this kind of thing. And international competition is really something that's been a big part of hockey going all the way back. They have the World Championships every year. The guys love to play for their countries. They love these best on best tournaments. So, you knew the guys were going to play hard. At least I did. I wasn't thinking that they were going to do anything less than give their all because, they're prideful playing for their countries. So that was definitely something going in. It got a great boost. The ratings were terrific and people paid attention. So it's really great for our game. I was really thrilled. I think it was long overdue to kind of do that kind of tournament in February with the NHL and the NHLPA running it. North American venues, North American time schedule worked out really good. As for Adam Fox, this was, let's face it, this is the best of the best, right? This is not, Rangers Predators on Sunday night. This is the best of the best. And, I thought Jack Hughes struggled a lot in the tournament. I think a lot of guys, this was a fast pace. Again, the very best of the best. So it was going to be difficult. I'm of the mind that Adam Fox has had, I don't think he's been really the same player for, 12, 18 months. He's had some injury issues. I think these guys play through that stuff as best they can. But I think, now he's out of the lineup. We don't know exactly how long he's going to be out. I have never viewed Adam as like in that top 7, 8, 9 guys on defense in the league. That's just me. I don't think he's not, his main attribute is his hockey sense and his hockey IQ, which is terrific. He's not a great skater. He's a good skater. He's not the biggest guy. He's not small. But when you're not, when that's the attribute, right? Any little fall off makes it harder for you to be successful. So we'll see when he gets back fully healthy at some point down the road, and you can make a different assessment. I always say, guys, that, and again, this is from scouting over the years, guys are getting better and worse all the time, from the start of their career to the end of their career. They have ups, they have downs. I think you're seeing a little bit with Zibanejad right now. He's been playing better for the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, and now with the addition of JT Miller, that's really helped him. So we'll see where it goes with Adam Fox. But, like I said, my view has always been that if you're going to say, okay, here's the top 10 defensemen in the league just for a round number, I think he's in that next group. I don't see him with Makar and Quinn Hughes and Heiskanen and some of these other guys, but that's just my opinion.
I would have to agree, Jay.
Yeah, little Ed agrees.
Well,
I
I
agree with you too. Maybe it's because we have the same initials.
Yeah,
Because has the same initials, he doesn't agree. So
no, it's. I think what EJ said is fair. I don't think it's unfair to say that. I think the concern is with Fox. He really needs more quality partner. Nothing against Lindgren, but he needs that partner. Whereas maybe like a guy like Makar doesn't need that partner. Yeah. But has it, so it makes him look even better. But he doesn't need that partner where I think Fox does. So I think that is the separation between.
And that's kind of what I'm saying too. Is that Makar is dynamic. He has a gear that almost no one has really. And those guys that I mentioned, like Quinn Hughes, if you get to watch him on a day-to-day basis, I mean, his edge work. His skating is just so incredible. And especially now where a lot of teams, almost everybody plays this crazy man-to-man in a D zone, which I'm not really a big fan of either, because I think you get beat in those situations. If my guy's better than your guy and beats him, now I got an advantage going towards the net. I liked more of a kind of zone or a hybrid. But the bottom line is that Quinn Hughes is in the league we have now, with his man-on-man up high, he can give you that shimmy shake up high and beat his man and get to the net. Now you have a 5-on-4 towards the net. Plus he sees the ice so well. I mean, it's a unique skill. So, to me, those are the two best guys right now for me. And Werenski is having an unbelievable year. And he's another guy that's in that conversation. But, again, guys get better, they get worse. They're dealing with injury. Sometimes these guys always try to play through injury, and it's not something that we always know about. And so we observe and we see a guy struggling. Maybe there's a reason that he's struggling. So I always like to try to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, EJ, for me, it's more of a physicality. It's not necessarily throwing the big hit like we saw with McAvoy against McDavid and stuff at the Four Nations. It's not necessarily that. It's digging in the corners. It's winning puck battles. It's getting dirty in front of the net when you have to. And for me, Adam Fox doesn't necessarily have any of those traits. I mean,
that's not who he is, right? That's really not who he is. But 100%. A lot of those guys like that, because Adam's so smart, he can defend well with his stick and he can defend in other ways. But I do think he's been compromised. I think going into the season, he's had injury issues that he's been dealing with. He's dealing with something now. The concern is that whatever it is, it doesn't take much to have a guy go from a high spot, to slide down, because again, he's not the best skater. He's not the biggest guy. He's relying on really smarts and the abilities he has in terms of his skating ability, but a little, a knee problem or something that slows you down or a shoulder issue that makes you a little bit concerned about where you're going in certain parts of the ice. I mean, these things all add up and they make a difference. But, if you're looking for that perfect player, it's going to be a long look, but Adam Fox does some things that are really good and really high end. Some things he's not as good at. That's why, again, like you talked about, having that partner, Leach and Bukaboom back in the day, right? That was a nice partnership because you had Leach who did everything, And you had Bukabu who just stayed home and he took care of the physical stuff.
Yeah. Coach has been preaching that for a while with Fox, and he needs a big physical partner who can, skate. So
Yep.
good luck finding that
I
player.
don't put
That's
Fox on
right.
the level of Brian Lee. I don't put Fox
Yeah,
on
no,
the level of
I don't
Brian
either.
Leach, though.
No, I don't either.
Leach could play with anybody, but
That's
I
not
love
even
Adam
an
Fox. We keep
insult
saying
on
that.
Fox either.
Yeah, and
Right.
that's the thing, guys.
No,
too. Whenever I
no way.
but
No way.
I just want to say about Fox. Like whenever I talk about Adam Fox, and I thought you guys were really good with your response to me, is people think you're being critical. Like I'm still saying he's one of the better defensemen in the league. I'm just saying he's not, in that handful of top guys. Just my
Right.
opinion.
If you're
But
top,
like, it's not an
if you're
insult.
top 15,
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
But before we
EJ,
move
what
on
do you
from that
think?
subject-
When I go to games and I watch live, like you watch
Uh-huh.
Fox live and you see things he does live that are like you don't see on TV. It's just a
Yeah.
different. It's just a different dynamic. Like those little moves he makes, and it's just not just him. I'm watching other guys too.
Yeah.
When you watch Cale McCarr live, it's like phenomenal.
Oh, amazing.
You know what I mean?
Amazing.
Cale-
It's just
Cale
such a
McCarr-
difference.
Is a different level. I mean, he might be the best
Yeah.
player in the league. He's in that
Yeah.
conversation, let alone D.
Yeah, and you know what? When you think about the best defenseman of all time, by the end, because Bobby Orr is viewed as, right, people who played with Orr, they don't even want to hear that conversation. But the reality is that McCarr is doing things in this era that Orr kind of did in his era. So,
Right.
Yeah.
like, we'll see when it's all said and done. But and I've been fortunate, just like you guys, seen a lot of great defensemen over the years. Lidstrom, Niedermeyer, Leach. We can all name them off. Pronger. I mean, there's a lot of them. But Cale McCarr is something really. He is just unique with his skating ability and
Unreal.
the dynamic nature of his game.
Yeah,
I agree. Little Ed, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, the second half of what I was saying before is like even like a player like Quinn Hughes. I mean, I don't foresee him really doing that well, especially towards the end of the playoffs. I mean, to me, I see him as like a Jack Hughes, but just playing defense. I mean, yeah, he's a tremendous skater and sees the ice well, but like, can he take a hit in the playoffs? Can he go a whole long playoff run, staying healthy? That type of thing. I mean, to me, that's the type of defenseman I'm looking for, is someone who can withstand going into battle for that long.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll have to find out over time. I mean, he got through the 2 rounds last year. They went to a game 7 in the second round. I think with the guys that are a little smaller, he's just so clever. And the thing about him is, like, when he's on the ice, look at the numbers between when he's on the ice for the Canucks and when he's not. It is mind-boggling. Like this year, I think that as of last week, they scored, when he was on the ice in like 900 minutes of 5-on-5, he had scored like 52 goals. In 1,800 minutes, when he wasn't on the ice 5-on-5, they scored 50. So, like, it's an unbelievable difference. And the plus minus, end of it, the goals differential is tremendous. He defends well. He has the puck a lot, so sometimes the best defense is a good offense. He has the puck on his stick a lot. He reads plays well. He defends well with his stick. He's kind of more, and these guys are competitors. It's the same like, the kid Lane Hudson who's up in Montreal and his brother Cole that plays at BU. I mean, these are small guys, but really great edge work, great competitors. And, they defend wisely. They have the good sticks, and they get into that battle more than you think. So, I think if you get to watch Quinn Hughes every night, you'd be fascinated watching that guy because he's special.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable player, but I got to just to push back a little. All those things you're talking about, goal differential and things like that. I mean, that applies to Adam Fox too. If you look at his goal differential with the Rangers, compared to his D partner, his other defenseman on the team, I mean, he's way above them.
Yeah.
So
like I said, he's a top 15, 20 defenseman in the league. I mean, there's how many are there, right?
He cannot skate like Quinn Hughes. I can see that. Okay.
Who was Quinn's partner last year in the playoffs?
Roenick, right? Philip Roenick.
Yeah, they played Roenick with him, but they moved guys around too. Like, I don't love that combination. I don't like it when you have 2 skaters playing together on defense.
No.
That's just never been for me. Like years ago, I guess they had Lidstrom and Larry Murphy play together. Larry Murphy was late in his career, but he was a puck mover. I don't know. I'm just not big on that. I like in Nashville this year, for example, they get Brady Shea and they play him with Roman Yossi. That made no sense to me whatsoever. Like to have those two guys who both want the puck and both can skate the puck playing at the same time. And obviously it hasn't worked out very well for Nashville. It's been a really hard year for them. But I like having that offset, of just having, I'm a righty lefty guy. Now some of these guys can play the offside well. I like guys on their strong side for the most part, and I like to have a puck mover with a more of a defensive stay-at-home type guy. But that's old school, I mean, the game is changing.
Old school.
You passed my test, EJ. You could fill in for me on the bench. You
right.
can fill in for me on the bench anytime you want with Stony Brook with the defense.
All right. Thank you.
It is old school, but no, I'm saying it is old school, but it is still true. It's just I think the game is evolving, right? So like what that Buka Boom was is no longer the 1993-94 Buka Boom. It's now the 2025.
Everyone's got to be able to skate a little bit better nowadays.
Yeah.
Right. You got to be able to skate in this modern day, which is the concern with Fox. But speaking of Fox, so the Rangers actually traded his D partner, Ryan Lindgren, a couple of days ago to Colorado. With Jimmy Vesey, they get Calvin DeHaan, Yusel Parsonen, a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick. Just generally, Lindgren was a great Ranger. So what are your thoughts on that deal for the Rangers? Do you think they're just selling off everything, or is this like a calculated move? What is your thought?
Well, I think that they realized that they were not going to bring back Ryan Lindgren at probably the money that it would take to bring him back. I think Ryan is a gamer. He's a competitor, but he gets hurt. And he's had a lot of different injuries, and he's played through them, and it's a battle. And I think sometimes when you're, for Chris Drury and for the Rangers, they look at it and say, maybe we got the best window of time in Ryan Lindgren's career, and now is the time to sell. We don't know if we're going to make the playoffs. Instead of holding on to him and not bringing him back, let's move him now. Let's get some assets for him in return and move forward. And they got, they can plug in DeHaan in the short term. They have apparently some people say that the Rangers have liked Parsonen for a while, going back to when he was in Nashville. I guess we'll see how that plays out. They got some picks. I thought they did pretty well in that deal, all in all, because it was pretty clear that they were not going to keep Lindgren going forward, and like the same with Jimmy Vesey. So, I thought Colorado paid a fairly significant price to get those players.
I thought so too, and when I look at these trades, I look at who the GMs are, and I try to connect mentally what's going on. And I know Drury and Sakic. Sakic's not the GM technically, right? They have another guy there.
Well, let me tell you I'll tell you a quick story. Chris McFarland is the GM. Chris McFarland went to Pace University, where I went to school, and Chris McFarland was playing when I coached at Pace University Club College Hockey. So it's all full circle here, guys.
Look at that.
You guys are coaching club.
So you have sources, is what you're saying.
So, what's funny about it is I probably talk to Chris like once a year, because I feel like I don't want, when I like talking to him, I'll talk, when I see him at games, he's a great young guy. You talk about a guy that was at Pace University Club College Hockey. He went out, he finished school. He went to law school. He got in with the Columbus Blue Jackets early on as part of their group. Became an assistant general manager, and then he moved over to Colorado as an assistant GM, and then the general manager, part of a cup-winning team there. I have so much respect for Chris because, again, Chris was nobody's. He was not the brother of a guy who played in the NHL. He did not play in the NHL. His father was not connected in the NHL. Chris McFarland is a self-made guy that I saw as an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid that was on my bench playing for me at Pace University Club College Hockey. And he was, he's a hardworking kid as a hockey player, and he's been a hardworking guy in this business. So, I was so happy when he won the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago. I remember being on the ice with him and just giving him a big hug. I understand. That's quite a journey for anybody. As you guys know, right? The general manager of the Rangers is Chris Drury. I think he played in the league for a long time. He's got relatives that are playing. These guys are almost always connected in some way.
Yeah.
Chris McFarland is a self-made guy who really earned it, and he's done a really nice job there in Colorado. Although I do think he might have overpaid in this deal.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Drury and Sakic played together. Sakic's still involved in Colorado with McFarland.
Absolutely.
So there's a little bit of, I'm not saying they're, Colorado's doing the Rangers a favor or anything, but it's just easier. No. It's easier to make a trade when you know each other,
Well, Colorado, the one thing I would say too is that you'll notice some of these guys, there's a comfort level. I think you're on to something there. I always felt like these GMs, there's 32 of them. Some of them, let's face it, they like each other a little more than the other ones. Some they trust each other a little bit more. They like to work with each other a little bit more. So I think that does play out in some cases, depending upon the situation. But I will say that Colorado wanted to add a little bit more edginess to their group. And Ryan, as I mentioned, is a competitor. They have Manson back there who gives them a little bit of a physical element. I think they wanted to add a little of that. So that's why they went out and got Lindgren. And probably Jimmy Vesey is a depth piece for them because that's where their issue is. Like a lot of these teams that win the Cup, with the cap situation as it is, they end up having to kind of make some hard choices. So we'll see how it works out for Ryan Lindgren. He's in a good spot there. And for Jimmy Vesey. And I don't think that we got a couple more days before before the deadline, so we'll see what else they decide to do.
Yeah, I got a question for you on that GM thing.
Go ahead, Coach.
On the GM thing with Sakic, would McFarland have to say to Sakic, "Should we do this?" Or do they kind of have free reign? You know what I'm saying? Would he have to get the okay on the trade? I should say.
I would think if you're, no matter if, when you have an asset like Joe Sakic there, I think you're always talking to him. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why would, you're in your group, I just think no matter who it is, whether it's, in this case, Chris and Joe, but in different organizations, I think you're always leaning on those guys that are in the bunker with you, right? That have that experience. So I think it would be foolish not to talk about it. At the end of the day, Chris is the general manager. I think he has the ability to make the trade. But if he talks to Joe and Joe is like, boy, I don't know about this. I mean, they're going to have to talk that through. Right. But I think all these, the managers and all these, in these respective teams, there's a group of people. And that's why, I have a lot of respect for what Bill Zito's done in Florida. He went out and brought in some guys like, that are older guys with a lot of experience, Rick Dudley and Les Jackson. They're like his guys that he talks to and like runs through things, and they kind of, really talk it out. And then at the end of the day, Bill makes the decision. I mean, I was in Dallas and watched that Bob Gainey was the GM, and they had Doug Armstrong and Les Jackson and Craig Button and Timmy Bernhardt, and those guys would talk. And at the end of the day, Bob Gainey has to make the decision. So I like it when things run that way. And I'm sure that, you have an asset like Joe Sakic, you're constantly, I think, talking about your team and trying to get better.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That's probably how it goes. I mean, it's interesting because a lot of teams have the separation between president and GM. The Rangers don't. So I think right now we have Drury as both. He doesn't really have to really talk to anyone to do anything, but he probably talks to the owner.
He's probably, let's face it, the owner is involved there with the team.
Yeah.
So the owner is going to want to know what's going on. And in the past, Glenn Sather was involved. I don't know how much, Glenn is retired, but I'm sure if Chris picks up the phone and calls Glenn's not going to hang up. Right. So,
right.
And he's got I'm sure Chris has people within his inner circle that he trusts that they're in those kind of conversations. So,
agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, having Joe Sakic around is a great asset. So, not everybody has that.
Yeah, he was a great GM too. He won a cup, I mean,
did a nice job. Yeah.
Got to be one of the few, maybe the only player ever to captain a Stanley Cup championship and then general manage one too. Yzerman? Did Yzerman? No, he didn't.
No, he did not win the Stanley Cup. Bob Gainey was a general manager of the Dallas Stars, and they won a cup, and he was the captain of the Montreal Canadiens, and they won a cup. So there's one. There's probably some over the years if we went through it, but it's not something that happens every day.
Yeah.
Most of them are probably on the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah. That doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt.
Yeah, so EJ, what else do you think the Rangers are going to do? I mean, obviously they're going to trade Riley Smith. He's been held out for trade-related reasons. That makes sense. He's a UFA. Yeah. Anything else? I mean, you think Kreider moves? You think, even maybe Panarin? What are your thoughts on it?
No, I don't think Kreider's going anywhere. I don't think Panarin's going anywhere. I mean, although his contract, they got one more year after this.
Yes.
So they got to start thinking about a new contract for Panarin. He's played so well. I mean, I would think that they'd want to continue to have him there. Obviously, the playoffs haven't always been, the best, but I think he's improving in that area, and you got to support guys better, so that plays part of it as well. I think the Rangers are gearing up for something because the cap is going up, and I just think with they got Shesterkin under contract, they've got Panarin is still there. I mean, this is not a team that's looking to rebuild, right? I mean, there's no letter going out about anything, so I think they're looking at things. Maybe they're looking at Mikko Rantanen. Maybe they're thinking about Mitch Marner if he gets on the market. I mean, I think anything is possible. They have the money to do it. And as I said, the cap is going up. The projection for the next year has it going up substantially for the 3 years. So I do think they've got something in the works there. Now, whether they can execute it is a different story, but I do think that they have their eye on something right now because they're trying to, they have these guys in their window of their career. Like Shesterkin is, you're not trying to, think about how we're going to be in 5 years from now with Shesterkin. You're trying to win and put good players around him now. And I do think that, they'll be an interesting team to watch leading up to the deadline. But I think more importantly, in the summer when, everybody's kind of open for business and we see who gets to the open market.
Well, you mentioned Mikko Rantanen. I mean, that's obviously the hot topic around the NHL. You think that's going to happen before the deadline, or you think he'll just become a free agent like Gensel did?
Yeah, I mean, tough spot for Carolina. I give them full marks. They're trying to make some things happen, right? And they go out and get Rantanen, and they've offered him a big contract. But, if you're Mikko Rantanen, you've won a Stanley Cup, you've played with McKinnon and with Makar, and now you get traded. You weren't 100% really thinking you were going to get traded in December or whenever that deal went down, right? So I think it's, watching him, it just looks like he's trying to figure it all out. Like he hasn't played, like the numbers haven't been great, but he's played better than maybe the numbers indicate there. But if I'm him, I just don't know why I wouldn't go to. The only thing that would hold me back from going to free agency is if I wanted an 8th year, and that would be a money thing. But if I have an opportunity, I have a Stanley Cup in my pocket, I can choose to go to market and field offers and make a decision for myself to go wherever I want to go. I think that's something really that, that's just me. Now, Rantanen, they have those really good Finnish players that are in Carolina, and I know that Aho, maybe they can figure it out. I don't think he's signing. He's not signing a contract by Friday. So for the Carolina Hurricanes, it's going to have to be a leap of faith that we're gonna move forward. We're gonna try to have a run in the playoffs. We're gonna do our best to try to convince them over these next couple of months to be here in Raleigh. We can give him that 8th year. And we're just going to stay the course. And if he decides to leave, we trade his rights at the end for a pick and we have to move forward. And, we took a shot and it didn't work out. So that's kind of the way I think they probably will look at it. Now, if he's told them, on the other hand, that, like, listen, I'm just never signing in Carolina, then you have to consider maybe if there's an offer at the deadline to flip them. But it's, that's a challenge as well to make a deal like that. So I think that'll be interesting to watch. But again, my own perspective, if I'm Rantanen, is I would probably want to test the market to give myself the ability to pick and choose where I wanted to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know though. I just feel like, Carolina's been banging on the door of being every year. They're this darling pick to win the cup. They don't get it done. They play the right way. They got a great coach. They run beautifully. Their owner is committed. They have all these things going for them, and they haven't won a cup. I don't see how they could trade Rantanen. Like you're saying, you got to let him walk if he wants to walk.
Yeah. I mean, if the only thing again though is if he says to them, "Listen, thanks, but I'm not signing here," and he tells you that now. Well, I mean, you got to consider that too, because now you have information that you don't have, you don't have, right? Like you have information. He's telling you, that he's not gonna sign here, and then you can weigh what offers there might be out there. But again, that's just us talking here. I don't think Rantanen is going to say anything. I think he's going to say what a lot of these guys say is, I just need time to make a decision. He'll continue to play. I think Carolina will play it out like you said. They'll have him there. They'll try to make a push. They'll try to convince him and see how it goes. But, hey, listen, they're taking a shot. Like nobody gets ahead. Nobody wins the Stanley Cup. Nobody wins championships. Nobody has success in life if they're not taking some chances once in a while. They have a willingness to be bold. You look what Florida does. They make bold moves. Vegas, bold moves. You get rewarded for bold. Listen, it doesn't always work out, but you've got to take shots. There's only so many real difference makers in this league, and when you have an opportunity to get one, you got to take a shot sometimes.
Yeah.
Was he offered money by Colorado? Was he offered money by Colorado or a new contract, or they just traded?
Well, I think what the situation was there is that they have McKinnon already, I think, at 12-6, and they know McCarr's deal is coming up soon. And so Rantanen now, he's represented by the same agent who represents Draisaitl. Draisaitl just got the, $14 million contract? So,
Yes.
the question is, does Rantanen want $14 million? Now, if we sign him, we've got McKinnon at 12-6, we've got Rantanen at 14. What are we going to play McCarr? So I think they were looking to try to get Rantanen in at 12-3, 12-2, something like that number. And I guess they weren't finding, they didn't feel that was happening. And so they made a decision. They got an offer to get a Marty Natchez in there and Jack Drury and, guys that, those guys, Natchez is under contract for this year and next. It gave them a little stability and they had a little room to do some other things. So they decided to make that move with the idea that, I don't know if we can keep Rantanen. So,
I don't know. I don't know if
tricky.
I'm him and you're going to give me $12 million and I'm going to play with McCarr, McKinnon for another 5-6 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a pretty stable life.
Yeah. And it might have been less than that. It might have been 11-8,
Okay.
But you're right. It's still a lot of money. I see exactly where you're coming from there. It's a great situation. But for whatever reason, again, the Draisaitl deal came in at 14, same representation. Hard to know what's going on in those conversations between the representative and the team. How much is Rantanen involved in that outside of letting his representative handle it? At the end of the day, the team reacted early, and they just didn't want to go down that path where they felt like they had no other choice, and they were able to get some good players. They made it happen. So, we'll see where it goes for Rantanen. Time will tell, but again, I can only give you my 2 cents is that having already won in his situation, I might want to just test that market and make my own choice to where I want to go, unless I just fall in love with Raleigh and want to stay there because it's a great spot. You mentioned it. They got a very competitive team there. I've been there many times. I really enjoy the community there. It's a good place to live. A lot
Great
of positives, great coach. A lot of positives, but at the end of the day, Mikko Rantanen is going to make that decision for himself.
How much do the players actually say to their agent, do you think? Well, I don't know if you know firsthand.
Yeah.
To me, would he go to the agent and say, I really want to stay in Colorado, or they leave it up to them totally? Because that stuff aggravates me a little bit.
Yeah.
I always tell these two guys, if it was me and it was my son, I'd be like, what are you thinking about? What are you doing? Let's figure this out. Yeah.
I think that every situation is probably different. I think some guys want to be more involved. I think they should be because it's their life at the end of the day. But, it's, there is pressure in terms of pushing the contracts up, right? When, like I said, when a Draisaitl comes in at 14 and you're Rantanen, who is in the similar window, you're probably thinking about, okay, I could be at, maybe I'm at 13-5, but we're getting into some high numbers now. And I know the cap is going up, but still some of these teams are limited. There's other players. You have to make hard decisions. And so that's part of it. I don't have the firsthand knowledge, but a lot of times, these guys, from what I hear, they do really trust their representatives to handle it. And then there's always those occasions where we see where then they move on from the representative for one reason or another. They're not happy. So, every situation I would tell you is different. Every family involved is different. And, and they have different priorities. Sometimes it's about, if you've never had a big contract in your career and you feel like, listen, I've played for a while, for whatever reason, it hasn't happened. Now I have this great opportunity. Some guys, it's really, I want to try to make as much money as I can in this deal because it's the last chance I have really to make that kind of generational money that can help both myself and my family. So there are, listen, it's there's a lot on the table. I think we as observers, people in the media, fans, oftentimes look at it as like, well, like to your point, a pretty good life in Colorado, but if you feel that they're offering 11.3 or some whatever it is, 11.8, and you feel you're a $13 million player, I know it sounds, for us, that's a lot of money, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't feel that you're being compensated as you should, that is, we could laugh about it all we want because it's money out of our stratosphere. But if you don't feel you're compensated to the level you think you should be, that is a challenge.
Yeah, you got to scale it. You got to scale it to wherever you are in life and compare it that way. You can't. To us, it's like, dude, just sign like 11 million, 13 million cares, but that's just not how. This is not how it is.
I'm with you, EJ. I think it's definitely an ego thing, and I was gonna say like the whole Colorado situation, like to leave the two best players in the world to go to.
But remember,
to get traded.
Remember now, he did not leave. He did not leave.
Well, I'm saying to turn down the 1.2 million or whatever.
But you know what? But you know what? We don't know. He might be thinking that this negotiation could stretch out longer, right?
Right.
And maybe on the Avalanche, in their ownership and their management, they just said, "Listen, we can't get to that number."
Yeah.
And, so we're just going to be proactive and trade him now. I think Rantanen, I called the game the next day the Avalanche did. The Avalanche played the Bruins that Saturday afternoon. The deal went down Friday night. And listen to all the participants talk about it. I think the players and I think Mikko Rantanen were truly surprised that the deal happened because normally these things play out, right? There's a longer negotiation if need be.
Yeah.
And in this case, they circumvented that. The Avalanche just decided, hey, we just can't get to that number that we think he wants to be at. So we're gonna make a big move now. We don't love it. Chris McFarland and Joe, they talked about it. The players, nobody was thrilled to see Rantanen go, but they just felt like in their negotiations, in their discussions, the feeling they had was they couldn't get to the number to make it work. And so they decided to be proactive and move him out when they had a good deal on the table.
Yeah, maybe he didn't think, or he tried to call their bluff, and the next thing you know is it's gone. It's wild.
That's right.
For $1 million, probably $1 million, whatever it was. Yeah.
Over, but you got to remember that's over 7-8 years. That's $8-10 million. So and when that contract ends, I don't think Mikko Rantanen's seeing that kind of contract again. So these are all things that play into it.
I always say never begrudge a player for wanting to maximize his contract.
Yeah.
Whether he's worth it or not, we can complain about it as fans. This guy's not worth this or whatever, but this is their chance, to make the money, and it's a limited window for them.
Yep. No doubt.
Anyway, EJ, thank you for your time. Before we let you go, I do want to talk about JT Miller coming to the Rangers and the impact that he's had, particularly on Mika. You alluded to it before. So, just your thoughts when that went down. The Rangers have made a couple of sell moves, and then they did a buy move. Now they've done another sell move. Just generally his impact on the team and your thoughts on the trade.
It's a great acquisition. He's a driver. I mean, over the last couple of years, I've become very good friends with Bruce Boudreau as he works with us at the NHL Network. When he was in Vancouver for those couple of years, I watched almost every Canucks game. And so I'm really was familiar with that group. And JT, the year that Bruce came in and they just missed the playoffs at the end of the year, I think JT had 99 points that year. I think he had 100 points the following year. But he's a driver. He's a competitive. His engine runs hot. Sometimes, as we've seen, that could rub people the wrong way a little bit. When the Rangers drafted him originally, I think there was some maturity that had to take place. I know they weren't happy with some of the ways that he behaved as a professional. Let's say very early in his career, I can remember in particular Alain Vigneault calling him out in Vancouver, to the media. After I think he might have got in a little late one night there, and so he ends up moved to Tampa. He moves on to Vancouver, and I think he has really matured. And as I said earlier, there's no perfect players, and he does run hot sometimes, and that could be maybe an issue. But he competes. and he's a talented guy. He's in the battle. He's going to those areas. And I don't think it's really any surprise. I mean, Mika Zibanejad has been a guy that's been on the outside more, and now he's got somebody that's driving this play more, and it's opening up more things for him. And I think Mika really, since like January, I thought his game was coming back around again. And then at Four Nations, I think he played well. And I think now having a real driver like JT Miller with him is terrific. I thought it was a great trade. They were fortunate. Vancouver was in the situation they were in. They were going to move him. JT, I think, only really wanted to come to the Rangers, or it was a handful of groups. The Rangers gave up Hedel, who I like as a player, but he's been injured a lot. He's not near the driver that JT Miller is. We wish Philip a lot of luck. Hopefully he stays healthy. Mancini, to me, is a prospect at this point, the draft pick. But, JT Miller can be a difference maker. And you're seeing it in Vancouver. They really miss him. And his play. If the Rangers get to the playoffs this year, a lot will be on the fact that JT Miller and his competitive
100%.
nature and his ability to drive things is going to be the reason why it happens.
I think he should be captain next year.
Well, I mean, listen, I think you could certainly consider that. I mean, like I said, the thing with JT is he runs hot. Sometimes
you obviously know stuff we don't.
It bubbles up. It bubbles up sometimes, but you know what?
But Trocheck is there. Trocheck is there, and they're buddies, so he can throw some cold water.
Hey, listen, sometimes you need that. You need guys in the room that the guy respects enough what will listen. Right. I mean, I've seen that in my career with other different teams and different. I remember Brett Hull coming to Dallas, and he was in St. Louis, and there was this idea that you'll never win with Brett Hull. And you know what? In Dallas, they had a room full of really old pros in there, and like they would just look at him and say, "Brett, enough." Yeah. And Brett was a great. And listen, Brett Hull is one of the great goal scorers ever to play the game, but it was a better fit for him in Dallas, where he had some of those guys to sometimes, reel him in a little bit when he needed to be reeled in. And he was part of a Stanley Cup winner there. He went on to Detroit and was part of a Stanley Cup winner in Detroit as well. So, but JT, great acquisition. Listen, I'm here. I give you my 2 cents on these moves. Some you like, some you don't. I think that was a great move for the Rangers.
Yeah, I'm with you. Coach, you had a question?
Yeah,
before we let him go.
You announced the first game USA versus Canada, or no?
Of the
Four Nations.
Of the world, no, I did not. I did not work the Four Nations. I did the World Juniors. So I got, that was fun. I got to do a Saturday night game, Canada-US at the World Juniors. I think maybe it was Sunday night, one of those nights, and that was Team USA ended up winning the game. Team USA had a great tournament at the World Juniors. So,
what did you think of the Four Nations, the first game?
That was crazy. That was crazy. I was watching it I was actually in Mexico. I was on vacation. I was in Cabo, which I've never been there.
The US played Canada, and you were in Mexico.
And I was in Mexico. I was in Mexico.
Come on, EJ.
Yes. Hey, the game's on TV. I watched it live right there in my room. It was beautiful. And I'll tell you what a crazy, crazy night that was with those fights at the start. And, it really grabbed the attention of viewers all across the United States for sure, and showed people who maybe don't watch hockey and see that. I mean, that's elite players there, and it was crazy. And then I saw Tom Wilson and Brady Tkachuk got into it last night in the Senators-Capitals game. I'm sure Tom Wilson was none too happy that he was not on that Canadian team. I'm sure he would have been right in the middle of that. So he probably will be for the Olympics, although in the Olympics, if you fight, you get tossed.
Yeah,
so a little different.
Well, EJ, hi, I'm PJ. Believe it or not, we actually met back in 2010. I was interning with the Rangers doing PR when Brendan McIntyre was there. I don't know if you remember this. But I always want to thank you. Really nice to us back then. It was chaotic.
Hey, listen, you got anybody who works for the teams. It sounds like it's a sexy job, right? Working in the National Hockey League, working for the teams. As you know, right, there's a lot of running around. They don't, guys aren't getting paid. Certainly they aren't trying to determine if they're making 11.3 or 11.8. It's a lot of hours, a lot of running around. And I always try to be respectful of all the people, because like the guys that work there, and they're helping me get information or helping us to get to the players. So it was my pleasure, and I'm glad that I didn't do anything silly.
No, absolutely. But I had one quick question.
Didn't say that.
Yeah.
I just have one quick question for you
All
before
right.
we let you go. Obviously, looking at the big picture Rangers, this season has been a mess. And
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what your big picture thoughts are and where you would put the blame, whether it's players, GM, coach, like where would you order those?
Well, I'll be, quite honestly, I just don't like the way that Chris managed things early on, going back to last year. The Barclay Goods Road thing was kind of messy. The whole thing with Trouba was very messy. I just some of the other acquisitions and decisions I didn't think were terrific. But listen, Chris is still like his first GM job. You do some things right, you do some things wrong. That's the way it goes. If you're lucky enough to stay on the job long enough, you hopefully get better at it. And like I said, they just went out and got JT Miller. That's a great move. He's moving some of these guys out, getting some assets. I do think they're setting up for something bigger, in the future. So, we'll see where it goes. They got the goalie signed. That was important. That had to happen, right? You're not letting Igor Shesterkin leave, so that had to happen. They got that done. So, I do think though that I do think the interpersonal skills is not an area of strength at this point for Chris. I think having covered him when he played and being around, I don't see him. I don't really talk to him. He doesn't really go out of his way to talk to the media, very rarely, which is disappointing because. We're trying to sell this game, and this guy has played in the league. He was a Little League hero years ago. There are people that are of a certain age that know of Chris Drury because they remember that story, and so you like to have these guys, be out there and be in the media a little bit more and, talk to us to get to the fans. We ask questions to fans, they hear from them more. So those skills, I think he needs to improve. I think the situation with the Rangers is unique because, the owner is a kind of a volatile character. He's certainly providing all the resources for the team to have success, but, that plays a part in all this too. So, I think at the end of the day, you have to kind of put it behind you now. They've made some moves. The team has settled out a little bit. They're playing much better. Peter Laviolette didn't forget how to coach, right? I mean, he was a good coach last year. He's had success in his career. Some of these players underperformed. They're playing a little bit better now. Keandre Miller has played better over the last little bit too, which is a huge plus. So we'll see where it goes. I mean, this seasons are bumpy, and sometimes seasons that you win the President's Trophy, you don't do it, it's struggle. And then other years when you barely get into the playoffs, you have a kind of surprising run. So, we'll see where it goes. But I think that you're from the standpoint of the blame, right? Like Chris got to put that stuff behind him and focus on the future. And I think that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Good question, PJ. We forgot to talk about the mess that was the season. We got so many good vibes going into this episode with the two shutouts.
Everywhere, all over. This year has been a weird year for the Rangers, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so before we let you go, do you think the Rangers squeak in, or
I think that listen, the way they're playing right now. If you would have asked me that question 2 weeks ago, I would have said no.
Yeah,
but I don't have a lot of faith in all these teams, right? Like you got even the Devils have fallen back. Jack Hughes could be out. The Carolina Hurricanes have had some struggles lately. Like the Columbus Blue Jackets have closed that gap, which means that the Red Wings and the Rangers have also closed that gap. I'm not people say, "Oh, this team is out of it. They're 5 or 6 points out." To me, nobody's out of it until they're mathematically out because these teams, that's who they are this year. They win 3, they lose 2. They win 5, they lose 4. It's hard to predict where they're going to be. Injuries play a part. Right now, the Rangers are playing better at the right time. They've got a great goalie. They're being driven by Miller, who's played great up front for them. Zibanejad's playing better. They've added some younger guys that are coming in and trying to be, really thoughtful about the way they're playing. I don't want to go without the whole podcast without mentioning Will Cooley, who's been a terrific player for the Rangers all year long and looks like he's going to be one of those guys that Ranger fans really enjoy watching over the next, 10 years plus. So hopefully. We'll see. I think they got a shot. I mean, much more so than I did 2 weeks ago. They're playing much better. And none of these teams, you're not trying to compete here with the 78 Canadians or the 82 Islanders or the 85 Oilers. These are all teams with flaws. We'll see what happens in the last 20 games.
Yeah, I love that. That's true. I mean, you got the regulation win tiebreaker.
And the Rangers have a big advantage in that, right?
Right, and they have 29. I think the next highest is 23 of all those teams. Yep. And you have Igor Shesterkin, who
correct.
If he gets hot, which he hasn't been, but if he gets hot, it could be a huge difference maker.
That's no question. They got pieces. They got the pieces to get there, and they have the experience of having been in the playoffs the last couple of years. Obviously, they were the President's Trophy winner last year, so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. You gave us so much of your time, EJ. We really appreciate it.
You guys are good guys. I'm happy to come on. Congratulations, Stony Brook. Stony Brook, congratulations.
You covering the deadline this year, EJ, or no?
Yeah, I'll be on NHL Network from 2 to 5 on Friday. And then I got the show. I'm doing the new show this year, NHL Tonight First Shift, which is on between 4 and 5, and also available as an audio podcast on YouTube. I guess you have to subscribe to the NHL Network YouTube page, but it's available for people. You know, it's kind of compact. Like when it's no commercials, it's like 45, 48 minutes of content. If you're riding the bike or you're driving home, it's good. I think good content day after day that we get out there and doing the games. I got some games coming up. I'll be at the GM's meetings. I'm sure Chris Drury can't wait to see me.
Well, hopefully he's watching. Hopefully,
especially after we clip that.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey, listen, I'm here to tell you what I think.
No,
that's
exactly.
I'm not going to give anybody any BS. Like, and if Chris doesn't, Chris, last year I gave those guys a lot of credit when things went well. I can't lie to the viewers. They're watching the games. They know what's going on.
Yep.
So
he's gonna.
I watch your show.
Cut off EJ.
That show first. I watch that show First Shift, not every day, but pretty regularly. EJ, you do a great job.
Well, thank you.
Honesty. That's why I like watching you and Rupper. You know, you give honest answers. It's not always about bread and butter. It's good stuff.
Yeah, you try. Listen, at the end of the day, all I have with the viewers is the credibility of knowing that I'm going to give you my honest opinion. And like, you may not agree, and that's okay. We could all disagree on opinions about things, but like, I'm going to give you, my honest thoughts on things. Sometimes you'll like it, sometimes you won't. That's just the way it is.
Thank you, EJ.
Yeah, thank you,
man.
All right. You got it, guys. EJ. All right. Have a great one.
We'll have you back soon.
Have a good night.
All right. You too. See ya.
Thanks, EJ. That's EJ Hradek. You got to check him out. Yeah, he's a great guy, man. I really love EJ. And, every time we have him on, I think it's the second or third time we've had him on. I just remember meeting him in person in Toronto for Lundqvist's induction. And him recognizing us walking down the carpet. They had like a red carpet for all the guys, for all the people with tickets to the actual speeches. And he was like, "Hey, Rangers Red Podcast." And we're like, "Wait, what?" Like,
and he wanted to take a picture of us.
He wanted a picture of us. And talked to us for a few minutes, and just a down-to-earth guy, really great guy, and an interesting story, Coach. His career, he obviously didn't play in the NHL or anything like that, like a lot of these analysts, but he scouted. He did play. He coached. He wrote. He does the broadcasting. He does play-by-play analysis. So to me, he's a well-rounded guy, and a really knowledgeable hockey guy to talk to.
Well, it's something I've been telling you to do. Just get your foot in the door somewhere, because if McFarland could be GM, your mind is just up there with that kind of a mentality. So you just got to.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Coach. Maybe I will
take the shot. You got to sacrifice a little bit. You never know what happens.
When EJ was saying that he went to law school and blah blah blah, I was like, oh God, Coach is definitely going to say
McFarland. Oh yeah, Chris McFarland went to law school. Well, that is why I went to law school initially, but then I started, getting sucked into the world of
fell in love. That was the problem.
Yeah, it is what it is. But anyway,
getting back to EJ from the first time,
dreams.
from the first time we met him at the Garden, I was like, there he is. I was like all starstruck. And we went up to him, and he just starts talking. And he
Great guy.
the game was going to start. He wasn't like, I got to get back. He was just kept talking,
Yep.
like a regular fan, a great guy, friendly guy, and that's his personality. It's not a he doesn't hold anything back as far as being friendly, and he doesn't like think he's the big star and walk away. He's a really good guy.
No, not only that too.
Johnny Laz similar like that too. Hopefully he his career takes off in that direction.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
It has with Laz already.
Yeah, we forgot to mention
not to EJ's level yet, but
he's close. He's close. Daily faceoff is pretty big. Being Frank Salaverri's boy, that's a pretty big deal. But anyway, yeah, I forgot to mention that before. We ran into Johnny Laz at the game last night, and like Coach Ed, very personable, came right up to us, asked us about Stony Brook and what's next, and blah blah blah, and when we're going. So yeah, these guys are great. Going to the Garden, seeing people, it's always a good time. You have anything else about EJ before I have to reveal something before we move on?
Yeah. Just real quick. I think that I can't say enough good things about EJ because when this podcast was in its infancy and we were getting guests, all those guests were our friends and people that we knew who were maybe a little better than us at hockey, or maybe knew somebody who was around these players at some point or something like that. And it was fun and great. But EJ was the first, national presence to give us his time and come on the show. And he was a bridge to a lot of other guests who have come on this podcast. So I just have a lot of respect for EJ for doing that. And I know this isn't the only podcast he does that for. And I just think he's a great guy. And I just want to give him that respect that he was the first one to do that for us,
Yeah, Roger.
Definitely.
Okay, go ahead now. Enough.
PJ, put me up on the big screen, buddy. I gotta reveal. Before we move on. I meant to do in the beginning.
Are you breaking a trade? Are you breaking a trade or something? What's going on?
Well, I wish I had that kind of pull. I mean, me and EJ are boys. We text all the time now, so maybe one day. But the time has come for the Rangers Ed broadcast banter drinking game, boys.
Oh my God. Wow, those look great.
PJ, your deck is in the mail on the way. Cousin Ed, your deck is in the mail on the way. I tried to get it to you guys before the episode, but unfortunately couldn't make it there in time.
Wait, I need to know what kind of paper that is. That looks like legit.
This is a deck of cards, 4x6, done by our sponsor, Mark Kleinfeld, over at Postcards R Us, right?
Yes, sir.
PostcardsRUs.com.
New sponsor.
So he hooked us up with the brand new Rangers Ed broadcast banter drinking game.
Dude, I can't.
The illustrations done by, of course, Tennessee Meg on the card.
It. Absolutely.
And we got all the different cards. We got the rule card. We got the Coach Ed's doghouse card. We got the Cousins Ed trade tree card.
Oh my God.
We got the Little Ed shot blocker card. And then, of course, all the Sam and Joe phrase cards. So
unfortunately, there's only like 20 games left of Sam and Joe.
I know. It took me a long time to get this done, but now at this point, it could be like a memento. And as soon as the Rangers or MSG announces their replacement, we'll add an expansion pack to the deck. I also want to add an expansion pack for like all the MSG people. So like maybe stuff that Valley says, maybe stuff that Henrik says, so I'm not going to go into all the rules of the game. I'll post the cards on Instagram this week at some point.
Well, be careful posting the cards because last time we posted the Rempe thing, some random website stole our shirt. So let's not.
Well, that's why we have a lawyer on staff to make sure that doesn't happen. So anyway, I'm not going to go through all the phrases and everything. But can I finish with the card game? So anyway, the premise of the game is you have a deck of cards, you have a hand of cards, and they all have a phrase, something that Sam or Joe says over the course of the game. So when they say that, you play your card and you make someone drink or whatever you decide to do as a viewer of the game or whatever kind of fun you like to have. You could do that. There's also some action cards, like anytime Fox does a head fake and walks the blue line, you drink or whatever the case may be. So like I said, there's a rule card. There's everything needs to be explained on here, and we'll be listing this on Lindsay and I's website for it to be purchased, and we'll get them out to you hopefully in time to watch some games and enjoy Sam for the last couple games. But like I said, if it's successful, we'll release some more expansion packs and hopefully get it going. But for now, I think it'll be a lot of fun. Should I read a few, or what do you got? You guys got any questions?
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, just from us pitching in, people are gonna have so much fun, and people are gonna be pretty drunk. Let's just say it that way. But it could be even fun just playing a replay of a sand game, just like just having some Rangers fans
that you can watch old games and just do it.
100%.
Yeah, just show a couple.
Yeah, I'll pull a random one. I got anytime Panarin forces a cross-ice pass. I included the doghouse logo for that one.
Yeah, but what do? You take a drink? Does it say on there, like, do a shot, finish your drink, or something like that?
Well, some of them say finish your drink for some things that I know doesn't happen very often, but are really big. So let me see if I could find one of those. Like when Sam does the like just that's on here somewhere right here. Yeah, pick a player to finish their drink. And then you got the cartoon of Sam done by Tennessee Meg, of course. You got
you got to play the broadcast banter thing, by the way, for this, PJ.
Yeah, go ahead, PJ.
You got to throw that.
Anytime Sam mentions the situation room is in here. Anytime Sam says no relation.
He said it last night. You heard that? What did he say it about?
Stasny.
Yeah, the Stastny with an E.
Yeah.
He goes Stastny with an E. No relation to the other Stastnys who played in the NHL.
And I think this is the best illustration, the birthday boy. You got Sam with a birthday hat on with a little
so good
party blower. So yeah, there's different rules. Maybe next episode when we have more time, I'll go through the rules and explain it a little bit better. But EJ was on or graced us with a lot more of his time than we expected. So yeah, for now, until it's listed up on the website, just shoot me a message on Instagram or PJ and Cousin Ed on Twitter, or email us, however you can get in touch with us and place an order for the game. Yeah.
Well, what's the website they can go to purchase stuff from your store?
Well, just go straight to Instagram, and the links are in the bio. The actual website is a little bit more. It's a little complicated. I can't exactly spell it out for you, so you really just got to go to that link. And like I said, I'll definitely post it on Instagram. Really, any way you can get in touch with us. If you guys don't have Instagram, or if you don't have social media or anything like that, you can always comment on
me a request.
What?
You could fax me a request.
Yeah, fax Coach Ed an order, or no, but seriously, you could definitely email us. Email us at rangersed, no spaces, nothing like that. rangersed, period, 1994 at gmail.com. If you don't have any social media, that'd be the best way to get in touch with us. But I should have those listed on the website this week, and I'll post all the information everywhere I can for you guys. So exciting stuff. Like I said, even if we don't sell any of them, at least it's a memento that we have. And if you don't order yours in time and we run out of games with Sam, at least it's a collector's item.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see. We've been talking about this for so long and working on it little by little over the years. And thank you for finishing that up and getting that done. That's unbelievable. Hopefully we get at least a few games here.
Well, yours will be there tomorrow or the next day. PJ's lives a little closer to me, so his should be there probably tomorrow. And then
we got to actually do it during a game and record it, and it's going to be. I might have to do something like Zambuca or instead of whiskey.
We'll have to figure something out, but yeah.
Or what's the 5% seltzer? What is it? Truly or White Claw or whatever?
Those are stronger than beers. You'll be way more loaded.
I don't know. I got to figure something out.
I would highly advise everybody do not drink liquor in this game.
Yeah,
it's not going to go well. It's not going to go well.
Wait till you see some of these drawings, fans. I mean, I'll post a few more
Meg
of them online, like I said, but
she's great. Yeah,
Tennessee Meg. These are funny. You got the Coach Ed's neighborhood too. Don't forget the Coach Ed's neighborhood. So like every time the Rangers score, you have to drink. Every time they hit the post, anytime they get a power play, things like that. So
Yeah, and you can like play the cards against each other too, right? Like if there's like certain cards you can like play against another player, force them to drink.
So those are kind of like the special cards. We got EA the PA's bathroom pass, so you can't go to the bathroom unless you use one of her bathroom passes.
But don't get kidney damage. If it's serious, just go. All right.
Mikey 150's waiver wire. You could drop one of your cards and pick up a card if you want. Cousin Ed's trade tree. You could trade cards with another player, but it has to be approved by the commissioner. I thought you guys get a kick out of that one. And then the doghouse is you just gotta wait for the official announcement to get the rest of the rules and definitely place an order, guys. I think it'll be fun.
I think just one more spoiler. I think my favorite card in it is the long reach of Keandre Miller.
That's definitely in there too. I'll try to find some good ones as we record.
He says that every game. That's my favorite. All right,
let's go. Great job. Misses the net on a one-timer.
Dude, you're gonna get wasted playing this game. This is dangerous. This is very, very dangerous.
Yep.
At least you don't have all the cards at once, right? So you have like a certain number of them or something like that.
Whenever Joe gets mad at Sam for knowing the trivia question or accuses him of cheating.
That was last night again.
Yeah.
Last night again he did that.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
I was going to say, you're hitting everything that happened last night alone.
It all happened last night, yeah.
It happens like every game.
What was the answer to that trivia question with the goalie with the most shutouts the other night?
Was it Chuck Rayner?
I said Chuck Rayner, was it?
Oh yeah, I don't remember then.
I don't know. I didn't remember the question.
Way before our time.
The first
man.
If you paid attention to the answer, PJ, killing me.
Anytime Lindgren bleeds, pick a player to finish their drink. So I guess
now you gotta
that'll play when they play Colorado, I guess.
All right, let's move on to Coach's Corner. We got a couple things to talk about. Roll the commercial.
Hey everybody, Coach Ed here. I'm over here in the shop at Bella Italia Marble Granite Quartz, picking up my order for a nice little bathroom I'm doing. I've been a contractor almost as long as I'm a hockey coach. So listen to me when I tell you, when you want the quality work and craftsmanship, I'm going to see the boys over at Bella. They serve all 5 boroughs, Westchester, Long Island, all the way out to Montauk. Whether you're a Ranger fan, Islander fan, Devils fan, they're going to take care of you no matter what. Make sure you give them a call, 516-561-1018. Let's go Rangers.
All right, boys, bring it in.
They're on their feet at the Garden, Joe.
That's a good one.
Well, while Cousin Ez is taking a second, I think what we were talking about in Coach's Corner before Cousin Ed goes over his spiel, I think in relative to last night that everyone was watching, the Rangers had too many men on the ice, now bringing to a lead total of 12 bench minors. And Coach, I just wanted to ask your opinion because most people will say that's the coach's fault. Can you kind of go over whose responsibility that is and how that can happen this often?
Well, I'm not gonna say it's never the coach's fault because there are times when we're coaching, like say Eddie coaches the defense, he's got a sequence he's putting out, but I'll interject and probably get involved sometimes where I shouldn't, and I'll say I want this kid out. And I'll just say you take him off, but Eddie's already got something that he already told him, so the players don't hear what I say and they jump or whatever happens there. But other than that, it's generally, I got to say it's on the players if it happens that often. It can't be on the coaches that often. On a given instance, I'd say yes, but they should know, who they have going on the next shift ahead of time. And it's just a brain fart where they just jump and they shouldn't, or they might be caught daydreaming or something. I really don't know what's going on. I'd love to hear from the coaches of, I'd love to be a fly on the wall. What the hell went on? But last night was like, what, again? It was twice in one period. It wasn't even twice in the game. It was tough, and it is noticeably happening. I mean, the other time it happens is, you're cheating on the change where the player's coming off, so you're jumping on, and the puck hits your skate, or you react and you play the puck. I'll try to remind the players, go on, don't touch it. But you just jump on, and there's the puck, and you'll see some players let the puck go, and you'll be like, why do you let it go? That's why. But if they
that's what I was going to get at. The penalties they seem to get for the too many men, they're like egregious. They're not even close. They're not like
no,
like
not even
like
close.
that.
That's why I'm saying I'd love to know what is actually going on, because it's in a game where you have a run going, and that happens, and last night we're watching the game. They had too many men on the ice penalty. I think the Islanders had 2 delay of game penalties. In a rivalry game, that's not where the penalty should be coming from.
Yeah.
Coach, you think the too many men? You think the too many men penalties sometimes with the Rangers comes from being lazy on a change?
I think it does, but it didn't seem like that last night, because when we looked up on the board, they had all the numbers of how many players. Like PJ said, it wasn't even close. There was, I think sometimes, like the one time, I think one of the Rangers players was getting out of the zone late, way out. So I think another player jumped on, so like, oh shit, there's 4, and jumped on. I'm guessing. Again, it's just a guessing game of from our experience of what happens. But
yeah,
that was an interesting comment.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the main point I wanted to talk to you about, Coach, was managing young players. We've talked about this over the years with Kakko and Lafreniere and Hedel and and Miller, everybody throughout the years. So it's kind of repetitive, but right now the Rangers are in a weird spot where they're playing young guys. They called up Berard and Othman. Jones is in the lineup because of some injuries and trades. They're going for a playoff spot, so the coach is trying to win games, clearly. I mean, you're always trying to win games. But at the same time, you're trying to see what you have with some of these young guys. And I just looked at, Brennan Othman coming up against Toronto. He played 6 minutes and 31 seconds in that game. He had about a little less than 4 minutes in the first 2 periods of the game. That number increased to a more reasonable almost 12 minutes against Nashville and 10 minutes against the Islanders. So I wanted to just get your perspective on that. Is that an opponent thing? Is that just a game flow thing? What is the coach just not trust the kid? Like, what is going on there? I mean, what's the point of calling him up to play him less than 7 minutes?
Well, first of all, I want to give kudos to Zach Jones, because me and Eddie were watching the game last night, and we were up high in the bridge seats, and you see everything. To be able to come in and play at this level when you're not playing for 20 games.
20 minutes a night he's playing now.
To me, I got to give this guy so much credit. If there are other GMs, you talk about other GMs, if they don't see that the quality of this kid, if he's shopped on the market to jump on people who don't realize this and what goes on in an NHL player, the speed of the game down low, and him being able to do that, there's one thing practicing it, but playing in a game is totally different. But getting off of that subject, kudos to Zach Jones.
No, he's part of it, because he is, he was that was my next point. So you kind of jumped the gun. Is on the flip side of the complaining about Othman, Jones is kind of being thrust into a role here on the first power play and getting ice time. So it's like kind of a confusing dynamic between the two.
Well, to me, before might as well talk about Jones now and then talk about the other one. Is to me with Jones is like we constantly, not to harp on Fox, but really any defenseman, we constantly say like, oh, he needs a good partner. They need to be comfortable with him. They need to develop chemistry, give him some time, blah, blah, blah. Jones has never had the same partner, pretty much his entire career with the Rangers, or his entire career in general, So that's what stands out to me, where he could just come in, go from playing 0 minutes to playing top minutes and power play 1. It's just wild.
I like him with Schneider. I really like that pair. But
I mean, I think he's going to succeed with anybody who's, like EJ was saying, like I love the old school where you have an opposite, a yin and a yang type of partner, where he's got the puck movement ability, and Schneider, not that he can't move the puck. I love Schneider's game, but he's not known for his offensive ability to skate the puck around.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, if I'm a GM of a team that is maybe out of the playoffs and I'm looking to build a defense core for the next few years, and we don't already have, a power play defenseman, is Jones worth a second or third round pick? Of course he is. I mean, it makes no sense not to make that move. I'm surprised that hasn't been offered to the Rangers already. To be honest.
Well, my point, yeah, me too. My point last night was here's a guy like Tony DeAngelo. He's played on how many teams? He's got the same kind of offensive skill, I would say.
He's
close to
so
Zach
bad.
Jones. And this guy gets on a team so easily, and poor Zach Jones is stuck. And this kid's got a great attitude, probably a better ability, in my opinion, in game situations. Defensively, he's responsible. You watch him away from the puck. To me, I'm watching that. He's responsible. With Tony DeAngelo, is a liability in a lot of areas. And this guy gets on teams left and right. And his attitude
that JT Miller goal yesterday was completely DeAngelo's fault, dude. Like,
yeah, I didn't really notice it.
If you watch the highlight, he turns the puck over on a bad play. Then he like steps up in like a weird way into the neutral zone, and then it becomes a 2-on-1, and he's the guy caught. And it was just I'll send you the clip, Coach. It was completely his fault. But anyway, that's besides the point. I think Jones is
point, right.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think Jones is getting the ice time now for a few reasons. I think you're trying to showcase the kid a little bit if you are trying to trade him. Fox is hurt, so he has a spot. Whereas when Fox is healthy, he's kind of redundant, like we've talked about in the past. Yeah. He's not going to get the power play time. He's not big enough to be like a third pair penalty killing defenseman. So, yeah, when Fox is out, he can run the power play and play 20 minutes a game. I think he's capable of that. But when he's not out, you're kind of, you're especially when Lindgren was here. You had Fox and Lindgren are not big. And then you add Jones into that. And honestly, Schneider, who is big, hasn't really played big this year. I mean, in the past, we've seen some booming hits and physicality from Schneider. He has not played that way this season, in my opinion. So you run into a little bit of the team defense is too small, but with Fox out and Lindgren traded, there's room for Jones, and that at that point. So
yeah, hopefully, he, like I said, I think he's got the right attitude. He's got a Chris Drury type of attitude where he did complain a little bit, but it's been like 3 years now, so anybody would get frustrated.
Well, Laviolette said it. He said, "I can't fault a player for wanting to play." Right? I mean, he didn't hate the quote. I thought it was a little. I thought there were some digs in there, but he's in for now. But anyway, if you have anything else on Jones, go for it. But I am curious what your thoughts are on Othman.
Well, getting back to Othman, I know you get frustrated that he's not playing, but again, playing at the AHL level and the NHL level is a little bit different. You get away with a little more. You're able to make a few mistakes that don't get noticeable. So the coach brings him up, and they're going to bleed him in, I think. I don't think you're just going to throw him out there. He's not a Jack Hughes type of skill set where you can just throw him out there and give him 15 to 18 minutes right away. So he's got to kind of get his feel for the speed of the game and get used to it. So I think as he proves that in games coming up, his ice time will increase. The trust factor, like you said, and I think it's showing. I watched him for the last 2 games again live. I hate to keep harping on it, but hopefully he stays like that his whole career, where he says he appreciates where he is and he wants to be here and he's going to show it. But this guy is busting his ass, throwing 2 hits a shift on a couple of shifts, hustling back to the bench at the right time, not overstaying his shift. And those little things to me as a coach are noticeable when I'm coaching someone, and I'm sure that they're noticing that film and watching what he's doing.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is also like Toronto is a very obviously highly offensive team. So it's hard, or I'm sure it's difficult for the coaching staff, especially Peter Laviolette, maybe to trust his defensive responsibilities. Right. Going from the AHL to the NHL against one of the highest offensive teams in the league. You gotta really get a feel for his defensive strengths as well. And then you saw him play a little bit more minutes against Nashville and then more minutes against the Islanders, So those are 2 teams that aren't as offensive, Well, Predators should be, but this year they're not. But you know what I'm trying to say. It's like it's a trust thing. Obviously, the team's still trying to win. As fans, we want to see the young guys get more time, but they're still trying to win. They still got to play the right way and play the right players in the right situations.
I just will say it again, and I'll stick to it. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but it's an MO of this team that they never put young forwards right into prime positions from the get-go and just let them have opportunities. I mean, it was already like first game against Toronto, right? They call up Othman. I'm like, oh, cool. They called up Othman. Othman's been killing it in Hartford. He had like 9 goals in 12 games, power play goals. He's got a great shot. He sets up for the one-timer. He's not on the second power play unit. I was shocked. I'm sitting here like, well, what's the point of calling
what
this
are you
kid
talking
up?
about? He was on the power play unit last night.
He was eventually put on it. At the first game, he was not on the power play unit. So I'm like, I'm telling you what I felt when they first called him up against Toronto. I was just like, what is the point of this call up, right? It's another example. But then, but then in the second 2 games, yes, they put him on the second power play, which is the right decision. What are you going to do? Put Brodzinski on? Yes, he's on the unit still, but I'm just saying, like, who's on the unit that you can't put off in that spot? Give him a chance to succeed. I thought it was the right move after the first game, but maybe it was just a coach feeling out the player because he did get more ice time in those 2 games. So I have no idea. Keep an eye on how much he plays in coming up here.
You also don't want to overexpose the player because, like I said, like putting him out there against, like, I don't know, Austin Matthews, Marner, Nylander, blah, 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 the list goes on. Like his confidence could go down by like not being able to keep up with those players or not being able to defend those players, you know? So like, you know, these coaches are thinking on a much higher level. I mean, obviously we do Coach's Corner with Coach Ed. I mean, I like to think we're able to handle the personalities and the egos and all that good stuff of our college players. You know, we struggle doing that. I can't even imagine. We talked about it with EJ, players demanding $14 million and then also getting told what to do. You know, it's like it must be a very weird dynamic in that sense as well.
Yeah, I just think a lot of development is opportunity, Coach. It's like anything else. I mean, you're in you do construction, you do great work. Right. I mean, part of the reason you're so good at your job and can do all the different things you do is that when you were younger, you had opportunities to do those things. If you were always told to like stand on the sidelines while somebody else did the job, and then when you're all of a sudden you're 50 and they're like, build this porch, you wouldn't be able to do it. You'd be like, I haven't done this ever, you know?
But wait a minute, your point is well taken. But I also grew up in a family where they never handed you the hammer. You were the gopher. So if you didn't want it and try it yourself, you didn't do it. So you have to have the attitude where you got to fight for it and you got to earn it. You know,
there's a balance between those two. I agree.
I had some people in the family who got things handed to them, but I had to earn everything. And I had to show what I could do. So he's got to show it and he's got to earn it. You know, the coaching staff has to, like Eddie said, he's got to figure out. He didn't get that opportunity against Toronto. It was a tight game, a lot more competition. Like, again, it's a different speed level. So bringing him up that game might have been a little more difficult to get him in those minutes because you don't want to put him on that power play. And you got, say, Nylander killing the penalty saying, this kid's a rookie. I'm going to jump the pass. He's going to cough it up. And now he's like, he loses his confidence. So you got to, there's spot situations. We go through it. We try not to get certain players out at certain times. It's difficult. And at that speed of the game, it's freaking mind-boggling to me. I sat down low against Nashville with Mike and his father. Like Maloney says when he's between the benches. This game, I said to Kathy, I go, do you see how quick he had to make that decision? You get the puck and you got to make that decision. It's crazy how quick they have to make the decision.
I know.
So you got to put this kid in the spot where it's going to be good. So we're watching it on TV. You're like, oh, why isn't he out there? Well, when you sit down low and you see the speed of the game, he's got to be ready for it. It's a big difference.
And you could take it a step further with what we talked about with EJ. Like, if that's the case, then maybe Drury should have went to Peter Laviolette and be like, hey, is he going to get minutes this game? Should I maybe wait a game to call him up? You know, like
they might have
obviously
had no
there's-
choice because of the
Right.
injuries, or the trade had to be made at that day.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
of
So
course.
I'm hoping they
Every
communicate,
situation's
say, I'm going to
different.
send him up, see what you can do, get it, whatever. I'm sure hopefully Laviolette talks to the head coach of Wolfpack and says, what do you think? I'm sure conversations happen, I would hope, at that level.
Yeah.
I know if I was Laviolette, I would be asking the other coach or asking people's opinions. I'm sure Dan Muse has a big part of that. He seems to be the, I don't want to say brains of the operation, but more, stat guy, situational type of guy. So maybe they do converse like that. They have a big coaching staff where Laviolette may not have the time to pick up the phone and call that other coach, but maybe Muse does, or, Pekka.
Yeah, I mean, look,
There's a lot more that
the,
goes into it than just saying, let's get him the minutes. He's here. Let's get him the minutes,
Well, I think it got interesting because, after the Toronto game, I said, this is what I want to talk to coach about because I don't get this at all. But then after the Nashville Islanders game, he got more minutes. So I was sitting there like, oh, maybe it's just a kind of a grace period for Laviolette to kind of feel out the player. He hasn't been up this year. Maybe he's just kind of figuring out who he is and whether he can trust him. Toronto, a much better quality opponent than Nashville and the Islanders too. So not really a game where, as a coach, you want to risk a young player making a mistake and you cost you the game. That could have been it too, right? I mean, so I just feel like this is kind of a wait and see thing. Maybe I jumped the gun a little bit, but I just don't want to see young guys get called up and get buried for less than 7 minutes a game. There's no point in doing that, in my opinion. I don't see the value in the development for Othman to make him a fourth liner.
I think
just let him play in Hartford.
I think the fact that Riley Smith is on the way out, that could be a spot for Othman or Barad, so they're going to fight for their spot right now. And obviously you could see the product on the ice that they're putting out. The coach is getting a lot more confidence. So you watch Barad, he goes into the corners.
Man, I love that
He
kid.
lacks a little bit of the size, but he's got the compete level.
He's
and
a puck
Othman isn't
hound.
afraid to hit anybody. So, they're going to show that Riley Smith mentality, and Othman's going to get the opportunities. Hopefully he finishes on a couple, and it'll get exciting.
And I think
this is their shot. This is their shot. Playoff run, trying to get to the playoffs, I should say. This is their shot to show their competitiveness.
I think what can fly under the radar a little bit is this is going to bring the compete level up at practice. These young guys competing for spots is also going to drive the compete level, hopefully, of the veterans as well.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, Coach, that's good insight. Thank you. That's Coach's Corner, sponsored by Bella Italia Marble. Let's move on. Let's do our milestone moment. Our milestone moment is sponsored by Old Country Ceramic Tile, located in Westbury. They have A+ customer care. If you have any tile need, give them a call. 516-334-6161. Jonathan Quick played in his 800th career game. I had to be the milestone for a goalie. I feel like that's a hell of a lot of games. I mean, that's a lot. Goalies don't play every game like players. It's easier to reach 1,000 as a player. So 800 for a goalie to me is like 1,000 for a player. Sam Carrick also played in his 300th game. So shout out to Sam Carrick as well. Not quite the milestone of Quick. So Quick gets the milestone here. And Little had a shutout in that game as well. I saw something. Quick has a shutout in 7 or 8% of his career starts, which is pretty incredible. That's a lot of shutouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quickie's been something else, man. It's a pleasure to watch him. It's a lot of fun to watch. So
it's conflicting, right? It's conflicting because of 2014. So you're like, oh.
But it's behind. He's still United States, whatever, Team USA guy.
What is this?
Surprise.
Oh my God. Will Cooley, 3 goals, leads the league in goals when ending up on top.
I had to include it.
Very good. I mean, yeah, it was so against St. Louis right after the memo, against Chicago on a shorthanded goal, and then the shorty versus Toronto. It's just because he's going so hard. He's like Luis Mendoza and the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
Can't stop.
He can't stop. That's funny.
It is funny.
Well, getting back to Jonathan Quick, I love that little. That was a nice little snippet for Cooley. Getting back to Quickie, also, I mean, just his competitive level has got to be an inspiration, or to be able to push Igor too.
I said the same thing.
That shutout on the next night, against the Islanders, it's got to be somewhat inspiring, So it's a good little push to have him back there.
Yeah, I mean, think about Igor.
And a good insurance policy, because I think Quick, if he has to perform in the playoffs, he's got the ice in his veins for it. So.
Yeah, think about Igor, having a subpar season for his standards. I think he was under 500 coming into the game against the Islanders last night. And he comes off a 3-2 loss where, honestly, the Rangers outplayed Toronto in that game. I've been defending Igor and saying we shouldn't complain about him, but I said this to PJ in a private chat outside of Rangers end. The difference in that game was goaltending. I mean, it was Stolar stood on his head and Igor didn't. And that's it. Like, you want him to make that save somewhere. You can look at each goal and say it's someone else's fault, or it's bad luck, or it's this. It's true. It is. But at the end of the day, you need him to make those saves. He doesn't. So how does Quick respond? Boom, 30-something save shutout. And not only a shutout, but he robbed Marchessault twice. Like, outstanding saves and highlight reel quality. Just an incredible game. And I said it. You got to get inspired by that if you're Igor to play better. Like, here's Quick, who comes in and does that after you are probably the reason the team lost the other game. I mean, you got to bounce. You got to have the competitive drive to be inspired by that coach. You have to.
100%.
And yeah, he got a
100%.
shutout. I know you said it was an easy shutout, which I agree. But at the same time, he got it. He got bailed out by
shutout to shutout against the Islanders, a rivalry game.
Well, he got bailed out by the offsides call, because that was a terrible goal.
That was a terrible goal.
Yeah. He got bailed out. But
before we get off the milestone moment, before we get on to the fantasy 150, I got to say it too. I said it to Eddie last night. I watched that game in Nashville. Sam Carrick, man, what a hockey player. That guy is I know he's a third, fourth liner, but that guy is a hockey player, man. He does
Coach
stuff in the game.
Sam Carricks.
What's that?
You love the Sam Carricks, man. I love it.
But you got to see him, what he does in the game. It's like these little things he does. He was definitely, you talk about being a result of a goal. He got an little interference, made a move, and it was the goal. It was why they scored, was because he made a little play, gets no assist, but he does that stuff all game. All game, never gives up on plays, hustles on line changes. Every face-off he competes. The guy just doesn't stop. He
got the assist on the Borgen goal you're talking about. He got an assist.
I don't remember which goal. It might have been in Nashville. It might have been against Nashville. I don't remember. But he just makes these little interference plays, picks up a guy's stick at the right time, holds a guy up for a split second, creates space for other players. A true team player and line mate. Probably like a Chris Drury type player.
Coach, he's physical. He hits a lot. He wins faceoffs. He's got a good motor. His speed isn't top notch, but he's quick. He's not slow.
Eddie said it a couple of weeks ago. He's definitely a Barclay Goodrow type of player, where he's not going to get on the score sheet every night, but he's doing stuff every night that means it.
But he's paid $1 million a year, which is exactly what he should be paid.
He does skate a lot better than Barclay, which is a big help.
Yeah,
look, I'm not trying to compare him to the salary. I'm just making a statement, guys. Relax.
No,
he's that kind of player that he does things in the game that go unnoticed by most people. But I'm just telling the fans, if you go to a game, watch him live and watch things he does without the puck.
This is why I don't text in the group chat, by the way.
Exactly. This is why I don't answer in the group chat.
Hold on, real quick before we'll do fantasy and we got to do stars of the week. Are we skipping that?
We can do it real quick.
We're already at 2 hours. But anyway, we got to
mention milestone moment for Sam Carrick, 300 career games.
I thought I did mention that. Sorry,
you might have. I was trying to get it up on the screen.
Wow, you did one for each of them. But there's a lot of milestones this week. Some weeks
We
we
could have done a
stretch
lot.
out.
Zach Jones had 100 games. I wanted to try and sneak one in. I was having some. I got to do everything before I go to these hotels, I guess, because the Wi-Fi just doesn't support, I guess, the stuff that we use to make the graphics and stuff. So I wanted to make one for everybody, but there were a lot of milestones this week, especially the leading the league by scoring a goal and ending up on top of the net. That one I had.
That was a good one. That's a good one.
We got to talk about. I know EJ. I want to talk about Chris Kreider for a second. He's been out, obviously injured. A lot of fans tweeting things like, "Oh, we don't miss Kreider. Trade him, whatever." I just it makes me a little bit sad how he's kind of the narrative has turned so quickly with Chris Kreider. He's in my opinion, a Ranger legend. And yeah, like Boxing Fan says here, that's exactly what's going on right now. Is a lot of chatter that Kreider is possibly going to be traded before Friday. So Vince Mercogliano tweeted it out that two of his sources said Kreider's name is still out there. I think Drury probably is going to keep asking for his price, but just generally, what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think it's time to move on from Kreider? Keeping this short, and sweet, like we'll go around the board here. I wouldn't trade him right now. I don't see a reason to unless blown away by an offer. I'd like to find a way to keep him, but I don't know. Little Ed, what are your thoughts on Kreider if he's going to go?
Pretty much what you just said. Like, what are they going to get back for him at this point? I mean, I think teams know, or I think teams around the league know that he's not 100% healthy. So what are they even going to get out of him in the playoffs other than like power plays, which I know they're important in the playoffs, but like 5-on-5 is way more important. So I don't know what they're going to get in terms. If they're going to get a few picks or a pick for him, no, it's not worth it to me. If it's going to be a package deal with somebody else for a package deal on the other side, that's a different story. But, like, what's the point of trading away a tenured Ranger for just a pick or two? I don't think that's what the Rangers need right now.
Coach?
I'm not gonna disagree with that. I don't see the point in it unless they're packaging him with Riley Smith and they're gonna make this blockbuster that EJ's hinting at that he feels they're gonna make. I don't think he's a game changer for many teams that are competing for the Stanley Cup or favored to win it. They already have good power plays, I'm sure, if they're competing for the Stanley Cup. I don't see it, but, I'm not an NHL GM. Maybe it's a fit for some teams. And he's got the no trade that he can go where he wants. I always forget this stuff.
I think it's 16 teams he can block into. I might be off on the amount of teams, but it's not every
15
team.
or 16 is right.
I would be disappointed because I'm old school where I like to see guys finish as a Ranger. They did it to Gilbert. They did it to Leach. So I guess it's not impossible to team history, but I like to see him stay here.
Yeah, and PJ, your thoughts before we move on to the stars of the week.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to be a really big bummer, right? Like, who of us thought after that hat trick out in Carolina we even be having this discussion? But yeah, to kind of build off everyone said, it has to be a good return. I mean, you can't just flip them for a pick. Like, you got to get a first, a guy that can play now. Something substantial is going to help, or else it's pointless. And
yeah,
unless they get that, I could see it being a summer when there's more available teams. But they do have to shake up this core somehow too. So either him or Mika, I mean, something's going to happen, whether we like it or not.
Panarin. I'm looking at Panarin more so than Kreider or Mika, but that's just me. I love Panarin, but
yeah, he's tough to move too. Remember, he has a total new move as well.
I was gonna double down, or not double down, but bring it into a further discussion with EJ, but I didn't want to keep going. But I think the entire leadership group for the Rangers needs to be wiped clean and start it from scratch. All the A's, whatever. Obviously, no captain. I think it needs to be wiped clean.
2 hours in, this is where we are. So, all right, next
episode teaser for next week.
Next time on Rangers Head.
Yeah, captaincy wiped clean.
It's an interesting discussion too. I would have that one.
Yeah, we should talk about that. It is true, to an extent, So, all right, let's leave it there. We'll see what happens with Kreider. If anything, crazy happens between now and the deadline, we'll try and give a reaction on social media at least, and we'll talk about the moves that happen.
Oscar just chimed in. They did it to Eddie Jockman also.
Roger
Yeah, he's
Bear
on-
and Brian
Leach
Lee.
was on
Oscar's
his
on a-
birthday, right? When he got traded.
Oscar's on a first name basis with some of these old timers. So
Well, he's
Um,
like what's his name on Hockey Night in New York?
Jack and Luke, and when they talk
Yeah.
about
Rosner.
the Hughes brother. Yeah.
Steph.
Oh, right, Ross. Yeah.
Oh, I was
Oh,
talking
geez.
to Cal last week. You know Cal personally, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Leave Stefan alone.
He's doing a good job. I gotta say, he does a good job. But,
It must be tough covering a team like that.
yeah, I saw a clip. Sean posted a clip of him analyzing Romanov, and I was like, "Wow, that's all they really got to talk about is that Romanov is pretty good." Because the Islanders are just a mess, and with the injuries too. I mean, they're just a mess. They're winning tonight, and
they're beating the
against
Jets
Winnipeg.
tonight. They make no sense.
Yeah, they're
Like,
beating
who
the
do you think
Jets.
they're toast. They're beating the Jets in Hellenbach. It like makes no
Crazy.
sense to me.
All right, let's go. Let's go to stars of the week. Put the clip up.
Oh, I didn't upload that one.
Yeah, all right, no clip.
Well, I thought we were doing fantasy
We
first.
got it for Doghouse.
All right, so player of the week. I'll start JT Miller. I mean, who else is it? Like, he's got 2 points a game. I think each game, right? Or the 12 wins.
I'll second
6
that.
games.
He has more points than Elias Pettersson has shots.
Yeah, and I credit him for Mika's turnaround mostly, so I'm giving it to JT.
You gotta until further
PJ,
notice.
Yeah, I gotta say JT, but I am gonna just to say somebody else differentiate. I'm going Cooley. He's been a beast.
I like
Big
that.
goal against Toronto, even though they lost. 2 huge plays yesterday. The goal off his head, and then took a hit to make that play on the Borgen shorty.
Yeah, I like that pick. He's great. Cooley. He's playing great too. Coach,
Well, we're not doing defensive and offensive, just player of the week.
ever since we changed the stars of the week, the team has turned it around, and we're not going to just change it back in mid streak. We got to be a little superstitious.
All right, so open up a new bottle of whiskey for this one, because I'm going to shock you with this one.
Keandre Miller.
JT Miller should get it, but I'm watching Keandre Miller over the last 4 games, the last 3 games specifically, and the guy is playing hockey.
How about that goal against Nashville, dude? That was a sick goal, man.
That was dirty. I mean, the pass came there, and he finished it backhand, top cheddar, as someone was saying. And he's playing defense. He's hitting. He's not crushing. He's hitting where he needs to hit. He's playing hockey, so I'm going to give him a little love.
Well, half the fan base wanted to trade him for scraps in December.
Well, I didn't want to trade him for scraps. I wanted to trade him for Brady Tkachuk.
No, I know, but half the fan base wanted to trade him for scraps. I'm saying.
Well,
now they all love him. Now they all love him. But,
Well, I could still trade him because it can only go downhill very quickly. So let's not get carried away.
I'm giving him love this week.
But I will admit, watching him live last night, he looked very good. I said it to coach as well. But like a player like how does night and day with these guys? It's like all of a sudden he's a completely different player. But anyway.
Again, it could be the JT Miller factor. I hate to keep saying that he's a difference, but he could be a little inspiring the way he's playing.
It's the culture.
Coach, I've learned in the last like 5 years, maybe more. Maybe longer ago. I don't want to make it so recent, but you just watch hockey enough. And look, when we played, there's a culture in the locker room and stuff like that, but it's like minor hockey or like club college. I mean, it's a little different. This is the NHL, the culture of the team is so important. It's like more important than who's on the team.
100%.
Like how good, it's almost as important, if not more important.
I think
it's right around the importance. It's about the same, right? I don't know.
I think part of
certain situations it's more important.
Don't be afraid.
But you just look at all these teams that win: Tampa Bay, Florida. They look at the culture of these teams. They are
Boston. Look at Boston.
Boston, yeah, every single year. So
even that St. Louis team, that
Nate McKinnon in Colorado, he's got that. He's a little psycho, right? Like that makes Colorado better. He holds people accountable. Like you got to have that. You can't just float around the ice and score pretty goals and win a Stanley Cup. It's just not going to happen. It's fun to watch for 75 games, but the rest of the season it doesn't work. So
there's more to life than being incredibly good looking.
All All right, highlight play of the week, Keandre Miller's goal. Like you just said. Go ahead, Coach.
I'll give it to Keandre also.
That was unreal.
Yeah,
I got
you
it. How
can't-
could you not?
yeah, I can't ruin it. Go with it. Unanimous.
PJ wants to disagree. He's very
No,
contrarian.
I'm going. I mean, I thought about there's other ones, but how could you not? I mean, I was going to say the quick save just because of the goalie guy myself, but that goal was sick. It got me out of my seat. And his face was hilarious too.
I wanted to go with the Cooley goal off his head, but I mean, that was just funny more so than the highlight. Okay. So now that brings us to Coach Ed's Copyright Doghouse Award. And Coach Ed's Doghouse is brought to you by Cedar Sweet Treats. Check them out on Instagram, on Etsy. 10% off your order. Use code EDPOD. Get a free Doghouse cookie. Okay, last week, Coach Ed had Alexi Lafreniere and Igor Shesterkin in the Doghouse. Where are we at, Coach?
Well, I got to take Igor out because he posted a shutout, and I know Toronto wasn't a great game, but letting up 3 against Toronto is not a horrible thing. But I got to leave Laffy in there because Laffy's just to me underperforming, and he's not getting points, and it's carrying over into the rest of his game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, and he's I think the only minus player on the team since January 1st. I think I saw that somewhere. Maybe I'm wrong.
Again, I go to this. I sent my players a Zach Hyman video of what his father told him, and like I keep harping with everybody, with you guys, that it's an influence. When he came out of juniors, he was a top scorer. When he got to college, he got 2 goals in his first season, and he was like just going into a hole. And the father said to him, "You got to find a way when you're not scoring to make a difference."
Yeah.
And Lafreniere is not doing that.
No.
He's not excelling at the penalty kill. What's that, bud?
No, go ahead.
He's not excelling in other. He's not setting up guys. I don't notice him on breakout plays. I just don't notice his game, again, without the puck, making up for that lack of scoring where he should be. So
for Coach Ed to not be able to point out even any kind of little thing that a player is doing well, that definitely says something. And I mean, the same here. I mean, I went to the game last night and I saw him smiling when they were celebrating after the win. I mean, yeah, you should be happy after a win, but I said to Coach, I said, how could Laffy even be smiling after that performance?
Yeah.
You know, like,
well, I mean, you talk about players.
It was noticeably bad live watching him play hockey.
Yeah, he's not playing well. But you talk about players influencing each other, right? We talk about how JT Miller's affected Zibanejad, and then a lot of fans will blame Panarin for how Laffy's playing. But I go back to this again. When he was drafted, he was billed as a future leader, a future captain, a guy with a competitive edge, a guy who hated to lose. I am not seeing that at all. I'm sorry. Like, I saw it last year. This year, I'm not seeing it. Ever since he signed his contract, he looks like a ghost. And it could be a thing where he's putting too much pressure on himself because he signed that deal. Maybe he's, feeling it that way. It could be a country club mentality issue. I don't know, but I'd like to think that with Laffy, it's that he's putting a lot of pressure on himself, and he's just got to simplify his game, play in straight lines, throw the body, and the goals will start coming. It's it.
Yeah,
that's all he's got to do.
He's got to figure out a way to make a difference.
The other thing I was going to say too is like when everyone else was calling him a bust, we were the ones saying like, no, he's doing the little things right. He's playing good defensive hockey. He's doing this. He's doing that. Now it's like we can't even say that.
No,
you can't even defend him.
No.
So it's tough. He started out as my favorite forward at the beginning of the season. Not looking good there, Laff, especially with JT in the lineup.
Yeah, it's JT and Cooley this year, right? So look, I think Laffy. I took Panarin out of my doghouse. Little Ed, I'm assuming you did too, with his point streak here in these couple games. He's playing better. I thought he looked good. He looked good the last 2 games, frankly.
He's playing better, but I mean, last night he was out there and he tried to force a cross ice pass and it went down the other way and almost blew Igor's shutout. But
drink
every game, every single game that's going to happen, though. I mean,
that's why we have the card game. It's not supposed to be a game you're not drinking.
But he did that even putting up 120 points. So I'm not expecting that to stop.
I know.
But at least he put up some points, right? He scored a huge goal. Big goal. So
no, I'll take him out and Laffy's definitely in. I thought I said that before, but I think I would just commented on it.
PJ, you had Laffy and Panarin as well last week. Are you
just Laffy for now? Everyone else is playing pretty good.
I'm going with a little lead there too. Yeah, I'm taking Panarin out. Definitely looks more alive, and if he can continue that, they need it bad. And yeah, I'm gonna leave Laffy in. Everything everyone said. He did make one decent play in Nashville. Quick even called him out when he was getting the hat. They did
the defensive play.
I'll give him that, but yeah, the overall totality not good enough.
How about the veteran leadership of Quick getting the hat?
I was going to say the same thing
and pointing to a player who's struggling on the team like that and being like, "Hell of a play!" You saved it, giving him that confidence boost in front of the rest of the guys. That's a great leadership.
And he also skated all the way over to the bench on the TV timeout to give him a stick tap.
Yeah, that just shows you the kid is probably really taking it hard that he's not playing good. It's not, like as fans we're just mad, but he's a human being, and Quick being in there knows what he's got to get his confidence back, and that's just great leadership. Really, he's an impressive guy, Quick.
It's amazing what confidence does. I mean, look at Mika, like just that switch, looked like nothing, and now
Mika looks like 2019. It looks like 2019 Mika. He's flying out there. He looks like his hair's wet.
His hair's wet.
It is. His hair's wet, dude. You notice that? They showed him on the bench.
Yeah.
Oh, guys,
he's skating noticeably different.
I got to tell you. So we're watching the game. Rempe fights. So was that Nashville? He got into a fight.
Yep.
Who do you fight? Who do you fight?
Andreas England. So he's bleeding everywhere because his shield, I guess, like cut him from one of the punches. He's bleeding everywhere, and then feels like we're watching the game, and feels sitting there, and she's 6 months pregnant, and she goes, I hope Patrick is more like a Zibanejad player and less like a Rempe. I was just dying, just cracking up, man.
Well, not if he takes after who he's named after.
She calls him. She pretty much called Zibanejad soft without knowing he's doing that.
And also called your future son soft. So good luck.
Yeah. No, she hopes he's soft, she said. Anyway, all right, let's go to the Fantasy 150 with Mikey P and wrap this up, please.
Well, welcome back to the Rangers Ed Fantasy Hockey 150. We're back in full swing after the Four Nations break, and teams are gearing up for their trade deadline madness. Jumping right into some news, the Boston Bruins traded Trent Frederick to the Edmonton Oilers today, along with Max Jones and some smaller pieces in a 3-team deal between themselves, Edmonton, and the New Jersey Devils. The Bruins, in return, received 2 draft picks. Matthew Tkachuk will miss the remainder of the season for the Florida Panthers with the injury he sustained in the Four Nations tournament. Jack Hughes is still being evaluated, but will miss extended time with an upper body injury for the New Jersey Devils. And likewise, Brad Marchand will also miss extended time for the Boston Bruins with an upper body injury. On to the waiver wire. First on the list, we have Noah Cates of the Philadelphia Flyers, owned in only 2% of Yahoo leagues. Cates is playing first line center and second power play for the Flyers. He has put in 3 goals and 2 assists in his last 3 games. He's listed as a center left wing. And if you're looking for a depth pickup with high points potential, make sure to give Cates a look. Second on the list, we have Zach Bolduc of the St. Louis Blues, owned in only 1% of Yahoo leagues. Bolduc has scored 4 goals in his last 4, along with being a solid contributor to depth categories across the board. So if you're lacking in any of those areas, make sure to give him a look. And last on the list, we have Boone Jenner of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Jenner recently returned to the lineup after injuring himself early on in the season, and in his 4 games back, he's put up 7 assists and a +7 rating. With Fantilli headed to IR, Jenner will likely make his way back up to a consistent top 6 role, perhaps first line center, top power play for the Jackets, and he should be given a serious look if he is available in your leagues. Next up, we got to tip the hat to a few players for some standout fantasy performances. First up, we have Nick Suzuki of the Montreal Canadiens. Suzuki has put up a phenomenal 4 goals and 7 assists in his last 4 games, and he's got the Habs rolling on a 5-game win streak. Second on the list, we have Rupe Hintz of the Dallas Stars. Hintz has put up an also phenomenal 2 goals and 9 assists through his last 4 games, and likewise has the Stars rolling with wins in 5 of their last 6. Third on the list, we have JT Miller of the New York Rangers. Not the highest point total at week's end that we've seen on this list, but Miller has been a force since rejoining the Rangers and has put up 3 goals and 3 assists in his last 4 games played for the Blue Shirts. Don't call it a comeback, but the Rangers have wins in 4 of their last 5 and seem to be playing with much more energy since Miller has rejoined the team. Folks, we got lots of great hockey coming up, so as always, make sure to tune in next week for more fantasy hockey news, updates, and insights. Until then, this has been your 150.
Just us? What happened?
They're back.
Love that. Mikey P. So
Didn't have to speed that one up. That was pretty quick.
Hirsch Cards put a note, Rangers at Fantasy Hockey League next year. We do have a Fantasy Hockey League. And just to update you, Cousin Ed is in first place, just so everybody knows. We got to get PJ in the league next year.
Uncle Brad, yeah, I'd love to play.
I have a feeling he's good at it.
We might have to open up the league to some new players.
Cousin Ed in first, and Mikey P is in second. We got Neil from Devil's State of Mind. He's doing a great job over there, by the way. Honest assessment of the Devils through their struggles and everything. So I got to give Neil some credit. He's doing a good job. Devil's State of Mind in third. Mikey Produces is in fourth place, guys. You guys got to check your teams. Yeah, Little Ed is sitting in last right now. You guys got to check your teams.
Any weeks.
Little Ed is sitting in the last.
A special guest there next to Coach.
Little Ed has a .323 winning percentage. That is really bad, dude. You're below Lucarelli Law. Come on, check your team and finish ahead of Lucarelli Law, please. Like,
I'll do my best.
All right. Next year we'll move around some of these spots. We got to get rid of the dead weight.
Next year I definitely got to co-manage a team at least or something because it doesn't work out for me very well.
Yeah, he needs a co-manager. I remember I used to co-manage you a couple of weeks. So, all right, boys, good episode. Let's see what's going on with the trade deadline. It's going to be fun. We'll try not to blow up the group chat too much with updates. I'm sure PJ will send the tweets. I'll let him do it. I won't double down.
Hirsch Card says there's a relegation system. So, all right, if I'm going to be relegated, I'll have to step it up.
We got to do some kind of like loser penalty if you're in last place. Like there's some kind of a.
In my brother's fantasy football league, they make the loser take the SAT.
Oh my God!
It's like an 8-hour test.
I will definitely take it more seriously if that's the punishment.
Yeah, we should do something like that. There's got to be a punishment for coming in last. Anyway, okay, good episode, boys. Let's see what the Rangers do. We'll see where Riley Smith goes. We'll see if Kreider stays and see if Drury's got anything else up his sleeve. And we'll be back next week. Are we back on Monday next week? Are we back on Mondays, or you guys have a game or anything?
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, there's no game Monday. Speaking of that, do you want to do a quick upcoming schedule? I got the results from last week.
Oh, dude, of course. Upcoming schedule.
Let's make it snappy.
Sponsored by Sorrento's of Long Beach. When you're watching these games, be sure to place your order at Sorrento's of Long Beach ahead of time for your game day meal. You can go there in person. You can order it on the phone. Call them at 516-962-9635. They're in a convenient spot in Long Beach. So if you're in Long Island, check out Sorrento's of Long Beach. All right, we got Washington on Wednesday, Ottawa on Saturday, and Columbus on Sunday. Those are 2 huge games against Ottawa and Columbus. And obviously, every game is big now. So, all right, PJ, what's the results of last week? And let's do our picks for this week.
Yeah, last week, me and Coach Ed going 3-0. We both had loss, win. And Cousin and Little Ed went 1-2. So the standings are as follows: me in first at 6-4, Little Ed and Coach Ed tied for second at 5-5, and Cousin in last 4-6.
Ooh, gotta be last in something. Look at Coach with the trophy, by the way.
Couldn't love it more.
I'm sure Eddie posted the Sorrento's dinner with the trophy.
That pizza looked incredible.
Got a lot of views, got a lot of likes. Thanks. Shout out to Sorrento's for collabing on the post and getting some eyes on our page. But yeah, that pizza
unbelievable.
was,
Sorrento's.
That pizza is something else, man. It's just so good. And I know I've said it a bunch of times. It doesn't fill you up like other pizza does. Like it's just like homemade, it's fresh dough, and it's not the same. It's just amazing. So
Making me
definitely
hungry.
check them out if you're on Long Island or on the South Shore. It's worth the trip if you're not. And yeah, tell them Coach Ed sent you.
All right, let's go. Little Ed. Well, who's in first? PJ, you're in first?
I am. You want to go first to last?
Yeah, first to last. Yeah.
All right, I'll go first. I'm going.
Brought some picks.
It's time. They're winning 3 in a row. They're going to win tomorrow. So I'm going win, loss, win.
Win, loss, win. PJ. Okay. Who's in second? Coach?
Coach and Little Ed are tied, so whoever wants to go next.
I'm going
All
with
right,
3-0.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Let's
I was
go.
gonna say the hot streak, the win streak has to come sooner rather than later. It's gonna come right now. Let's go 3-0, baby.
I hope
Got
you're
the
right.
opponents to do it.
I'm gonna ride Coach and Little Ed. I agree. I think they're either gonna lose to Washington and beat Ottawa and Columbus or win all three. So I'm gonna go win all three and just Washington's been giving up a lot of goals lately. So I think there's an opportunity there for the Rangers to win. And I don't really have confidence in their goaltending. I know a lot of people do, but
We know
I
all
think
about
we
your
do.
Logan Thompson thoughts.
and you know they're good goalies, but they're beatable. You know, so I'm gonna say
Let's not
win,
get
win,
carried
win.
away though. Ovechkin's gonna score a hat trick, but the Rangers win 5-3.
How many goals away is he from Gretzky's record?
I think 9 or
11?
10.
10, I think.
All right. Well, Ovechkin scores 10 goals. Rangers win 11-10.
Did you guys hear that rumor that, just real quick, that they might start sitting him out since he's so close on the road so he gets it at home?
That's crazy.
So stupid.
I don't think
That's just going to
happen.
bite them in the ass.
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's not gonna
That'd be nuts.
Win, win, win. Mark it down. The Rangers are going to win 5 in a row, not 3 in a row, but 5 in a row, PJ. That's our pick.
Your lips to God's ears.
All right. All right, boys. Till next week. This was fun, but love you guys. Let's go,
Love you
Rangers.
guys. Peace out.
No stupid
guys.
trades. No stupid trades, please. All right.
See you, boys.
Till next week.